Dla przypomnienia, przy czym nie chcę, żebyście traktowali to jako osąd, tylko być może pozwoli wam zrozumieć pewną zmianę, która zachodzi w trakcie tej rozmowy, bo jest ona dość uderzająco widoczna. Kanye jest osobą z chorobą afektywną dwubiegunową i wedle wszelkich wskazań nie chce brać leków. Więc jakby zwracam wam na to uwagę, bo tam się w kilku miejscach dzieją bardzo dziwne rzeczy i jakby myślę, że to jest rzecz, z której warto sobie zdawać sprawę, tak? To oczywiście nie znaczy, że wszystko, co mówi, jest bo on jest chory, a nic w tym stylu. To znaczy tylko i wyłącznie to, że niektóre jego dziwne zachowania mają swoje podłoże w problemach. Natomiast jakby stawiam, że z dużym prawdopodobieństwem większość z was nie potrafi ocenić, które to, więc nie zachęcam do próbowania. To będzie bardzo ciężka rozmowa.
Very much indeed for joining Piers Morgan Uncensored. My first question for you, I guess, is an obvious one. What do you hope to achieve from our conversation?
That right there, being uncensored. In American media, it's very censored. It feels like an episode of Black Mirror a lot of times. So I've put myself across the line, the point of no return, saying, hey, I know they're going to say whatever they want about me. When I bring up the truth, they're going to say, you didn't get enough sleep. It's because of your health. They're going to call me names for my truth. But these experiences that I'm telling you about are factually things that I've went through and things that I refuse to keep going through and things that I'm not going to let my children go through and things that I'm not going to let my peers go through. No pun intended.
Well, look, we are most certainly uncensored on this show, yeah. And I want to give you the time and the platform to really explain yourself, because I think that sometimes sound bites about people, perhaps taken out of context sometimes, can create a very distorted view of what a person really thinks. What do you think, looking back over the last few weeks in particular, what do you think have been the biggest misconceptions about you?
Well, I think there's a left agenda to silence anyone that goes against the agenda. Let's go back to Trump running for office back in 2015. Everyone that was around me in my industry, in the entertainment industry, told me that my life would be over. I would be on the wrong side of history. I've even had threats to my life for wearing the Trump hat. And it even ended up in, destroying my family and also making it where I have to raise my children differently because I actually am a person that's classified as Black. I classify myself as Jew, but a person that's classified that had been given that title in America as Black.
Pamiętajcie, jakby Kanye mówi, że on został zmuszony do wychowywania swoich dzieci inaczej, dlatego że poparł Trumpa. To nie do końca jest prawda, dla osób, które znowu mogą nie wiedzieć. To działa w ten sposób, że Kanye, że Kanye miał bardzo, no właśnie między innymi, przynajmniej tak jak wyglądają doniesienia, to, że Kanye zaczął odstawiać leki i przestał brać leki na chorobę afektywną dwubiegunową, sprawiło, że jego rodzinie coraz trudniej się z nim egzystowało, funkcjonowało. I wedle jakby wszelkich wskazań to działa w ten sposób, że jego, że to wcale nie jest tak, że on był tutaj jakoś bardzo prześladowany, natomiast on doświadczył ostracyzmu związanego z tym, jak się zachowywał i co się z nim działo, w związku z czym no jest tam jest tutaj jakiś kontekst dla tego. Natomiast jeżeli chodzi o jego dzieci, no to mówiliśmy o tym, że po pierwsze jego żona w tym momencie spotyka się albo już przestała, ale na pewno spotykała się z białym komikiem po tym, jak się z nim rozstała. Po drugie, Kanye wpadł na genialny pomysł, że jego dzieci pójdą do szkoły, którą sam założył i próbował, znaczy i był gotów tak bardzo o to, wiecie, walczyć, że był gotów zdoksować swoje dzieci i upublicznić swoim fanom informacje o tym, gdzie te dzieciaki chodzą do szkoły, żeby tylko zwiększyć presję na Kim Kardashian, żeby ona przepisała te dzieciaki do szkoły, którą on wybrał, nie?
Black in America that I'm supposed to stay in a block of a vote. You never heard the term white vote. So why is there a term black vote? How is that okay? It sounds just as racist as a black drinking fountain. And my dad, called me and said, the thing that the left fear about Ye or makes me the most dangerous is I'm rich. And that's the point. Tupac told me back in the days, you had to get your money right and then you go to war. So I'm going to war. I don't have endless resources. I only have maybe, honestly only.
I tutaj znowu jedna zabawna rzecz. To jest coś, czego się dowiedziałem od Hasana, ja nie wiedziałem o tym, ale Tupac podobno był lewicowcem. W sensie tak lewicowy, jak mógł człowiek z jego środowiska, nie? Ale on był zapisany do młodych komunistów czy młodych socjalistów, więc jakby fajnie, że Kanye się powołuje na Tupaca, ale istnieje szansa, że Tupac powiedziałby nie stary, nie? To nie jest, nie idziesz w dobrym kierunku, ziom.
Maybe $120 million in my account. But what I'm not going to let happen is I'm not going to let my kids take over Yeezy someday and have a boardroom telling them what to do and talking behind their back. I'm not going to let that happen to my children. So I have to fight right now. And the other powerful icons in black music, when they were at the top of the game, they didn't fight at that point. They were too afraid of losing whatever they had. So by the time they wanted to make a difference, by the time Bill Cosby wanted to buy NBC, he didn't have the Cosby Show at that time to be able to stand up when they wanted to literally throw him in jail, where they actually did throw him in jail. So people have to understand just.
Czy to nie piękne, że jakby Kanye broni gwałciciela, który jakby uniknął przynajmniej części kary ze względu na technikalia, a nie ze względu na to, że był niewinny? Czy to nie cudowne?
The bravery. There's so many people everywhere. I know everyone can relate to being afraid to say what you're going to feel because you feel like you're going to lose something. So whether you agree with me or not, I believe people are going to feel the fact that someone is brave enough to say something. Every day I do 5 things that people have been historically killed for. Every day. And it's just, I want to prove, first of all, I am Jew also. The 12 lost tribes of Hebrew. Do the math. Do your research on it. We have got our culture ripped from us and then told we were just simply void of color, which is another definition for black. But if we knew we were a culture and knew we were a people, the way the Jewish people know, then we wouldn't abort ourselves. We wouldn't shoot each other dead in the streets and then rap about it. We wouldn't brag about, having sex with each other's wives. We would keep our families together and we would do business together. The most dangerous.
Widzicie? I tutaj już zaczynamy wpadać po prostu mina Pierce'a Morgana mówi wszystko, nie? Na zasadzie, o nie, to się dzieje naprawdę, a ja sprawiłem, że to się dzieje, nie? Ale tak poważniej, widzicie poziom oderwania od rzeczywistości, nie? Widzicie poziom odklejenia. On jest Żydem, on należy do zaginionego plemienia Żydów. I ci Żydzi, którzy teraz twierdzą, że są Żydami, nie są prawdziwymi Żydami, bo prawdziwi Żydzi to on i ludzie, których on uważa za Żydów. To niestety poszło tak daleko, nie? I jednocześnie on skleja sytuację prawdziwej krzywdy, która dzieje się czarnym Amerykanom i zresztą czarnym ludziom nie tylko w USA, z właśnie tymi prawicowymi narracjami o, wiecie, zaraz jeszcze tylko brakuje braku ojców, nie? Bo to jest też bardzo częsta narracja na temat na temat osób czarnych. On cały czas ojejku, On cały czas będzie zmierzał do tego, że to on doświadczył prawdziwego prześladowania, to on doświadczył prawdziwych problemów. Przy czym miesza prawdziwe problemy z tymi rzeczami, które wpisują się w strasznie rasistowskie, w strasznie okropne, po prostu dyskryminujące także czarne osoby narracjami, które uwielbiają miłośnicy białej supremacji. So, awesome? Question mark?
Most dangerous place for a black person in America is actually in our mother's stomachs, because 50% of black deaths a year in America is abortion currently. I mean, I can keep going, but I want to make it, hey, boom, ask me questions, let's go.
I don't want to jump in too much, because here's what I honestly think. I think you have an extraordinary mind. You have a number of extraordinary talents. You're a musical genius. You're a fascinating public figure. What has been interesting to me is to watch the furore which has erupted in the last few weeks over a series of statements that you've made, which have caused, as you know, a lot of offence. And I guess before I get into them, I'm just curious as to whether you think there is a line for free speech. Listen, I completely agree with you that there is a war against free speech, that people are treading on eggshells all the time, terrified of expressing honestly held opinions in case they get cancelled. I think we're living in a really insidious era where liberals are behaving like fascists. So on that, you have absolutely my agreement. But my question for you is, do you believe there are limits to free speech? And if they are, what are they?
There are no limits to free speech. It's all context, right? Tarantino can write a movie about slavery where actually him and Jamie, they got the idea from me, because the idea for Django, I pitched to Jamie Foxx and Quentin Tarantino as the video for Gold Digger. And then Tarantino turned it into a film. But in that film, he puts a context, he creates a context where Leonardo DiCaprio is allowed to use the word multiple times within that context. So Hollywood's job is to frame things, and they allow what context, what content is accepted and what's not. We have our thoughts. You know, everyone has thoughts and ideas, and then people try to manipulate your thoughts and ideas. In order for humanity to move forward, we have to be free to think and then to actualize. I like the word actualize better than execute. If you think about execute's a negative word, actualize would be more positive, except for the fact that it has the word act in it, and everyone's an actor, especially in Hollywood.
Widzicie, w jaki wpadamy tutaj w gruby bełkot pod tytułem jakby nie znam znaczenia słów i actualize to znaczy to jest od aktor, a nie od rdzenia akt, czyli działać. Wiecie, to jest taki freestyle'owy po prostu słowotok, którego celem jest pokazanie, zobaczcie jaki mam głęboki umysł. I on płynie w coś, co wydaje się po prostu okropnie odklejone, nie? No zresztą zobaczycie jeszcze, myślę, że więcej niż raz tutaj, ile ego jest w tym wszystkim. Ego jest kurwy.
I'm like top 5 writers in human history, so I really get into the power of words, and I feel very akin to Capote, Freud, Nikola Tesla, Da Vinci, Matisse, more Matisse than Picasso, more African cubism than Matisse. So I just do that. I throw out that kind of for the liberals, and that's the funny thing. It's like liberals.
Let me hold you up on
love
that.
me.
On Matisse, when you say you're more Matisse than Picasso, as somebody who's a fan of Matisse and Picasso, actually, I spent a lot of time in Saint-Tropez where they all used to paint together. Why do you say Matisse? What is it about Matisse that you feel an affinity with?
I feel like Drake is more Picasso and Ye's. Why does God have it where Bernard Arnault cannot purchase Gucci, not even through the Chinese market? God does this to remind us that we are not God. Because when you take people like Elon Musk and Bernard Arnault and Trump or Jack Ma, Putin, you take these people in their own space, in their own environments, you know, we can start to feel like gods on earth, but we are nothing in comparison to God. And we are here actually to love one another and to collaborate and to make the world a better place. There's, 1% of the world are placed in power, and 99% of the world are the audience. So that 1% of the world, this idea of a United Nations, this is the world that needs to come together. This is the world that, here's the obvious go-to. Biden doesn't listen to Elon Musk. The president of the United States does not have meetings with Elon Musk. That is, hey, here, come get me. That's retarded.
Zmycie? Kanye jest już na tym poziomie, że on chciałby, żeby Biden konsultował się i spotykał się z Muskiem, ponieważ jak wiadomo, właśnie właśnie miliarder jest tą osobą, która odpowiednio pokieruje prezydenta Stanów Zjednoczonych, ponieważ jak powszechnie wiadomo, to wcale nie jest tak, że w USA poziom jakby lobbingu jest przerażająco duży i odstraszająco duży, nie? Potrzebujemy więcej, ponieważ potrzebujemy, żeby 1% ludzi, ten najbogatszy, więc najlepszy, rządził, nie? Oglądamy papieskie koszulki w godzinę papieską.
I know I'm not supposed to say that, Biden, but that's retarded, Biden. And it's and obviously because I've been dealing with mental health, all this, I have the right to use whatever words that I like to use.
Well, that's interesting. So let me
ask another question.
Well, yeah, let me ask you on that. So you just said something very inflammatory about President Biden. It will, as you know, offend a lot of people, and it will particularly offend people who work in mental health. You say you should not use a word like retarded, but you say that because you yourself have had mental health issues, that entitles you to use that kind of word as an insult. Now, I would say that's an arguable point.
I've had my issue is I've had mental health allegations.
So do you believe that you have any form of mental illness?
I believe that I suffered from exhaustion. I believe that I suffered from exhaustion.
Oh, wow.
I suffered from being lied to constantly by the people around me. And I believe those things can drive anyone to a point of maximum exhaustion. But I also believe that I'm extremely brilliant and I'm here to make the world a better place. And I'm tired of the left media trying to pick on me. And y'all picked on me enough. And y'all finally touched the person that's not going to take it anymore.
Swoją drogą, warto powiedzieć, że mówiłem wam zresztą o tym, że do niego się przykleiła ostatnio Candace Owens, czyli wyjątkowo parszywa kreatura, która jest, wiecie, tą przyjaciółką czarną, tak? Znajomą czarną, którą się wysługują biali supremacyści, jak potrzebują, żeby ktoś o czarnej skórze powiedział, że oni są fajni. I Candace działa bardzo aktywnie, przekonując Kanyego, żeby przeszedł na jej stronę mocy. Co zresztą chyba jej się całkiem udało, patrząc na jego niektóre genialne pomysły i zachowania. Ale uważajcie, jedną z rzeczy, którą Candace zrobiła, to jest wcisnęła Kanyemu. Ja nie wiem, czy to już jest jakby realizowane, czy jeszcze nie, ale mąż Candace sprzedaje Kanyemu Parlera, czyli tego gównianego prawackiego Twittera, który dostał między innymi dostał szeregiem banów po po próbie zamachu 6 stycznia, tak? Ubiegłego roku. I nawet już są jakieś, nawet sobie zdążył już Kanye z Elonem pomemować, że Kanye będzie miał Parlera, Elon będzie miał Twittera, więc wtedy dopiero będzie porządek na świecie, nie? Więc jeżeli zastanawiacie się, jak dużo gówna nas czeka, to odpowiedź brzmi: tak dużo gówna nas czeka. Mieliśmy N-word passa, teraz mamy R-word passa. No słuchajcie, no jakby...
And that's part of the reason why I'm on Uncensored, because what they'd like is for me to be quiet. Interesting thing about racism and cancel culture is kind of similar, right? Racism works on itself. I can go into the Gucci store at age 18 and I just assume that people think that I'm about to steal, so I buy more things. With cancel culture, when I brought Marilyn Manson on stage with me when he was dealing with allegations, my stepbrother Marilyn was canceling himself. So many people comment on my White Lives Matter t-shirt. There's people who are saying right there in Fashion Week, when are you going home? I'm so afraid. People thought I was going to cancel myself. I'm not going to cancel myself. I'm going to keep on delivering what I feel, because guess what? It's very split opinions, by the way. If I talk to a black person that makes under $1 million a year, they really relate to the George Floyd comments and feel hurt that I would even bring it up and question the approach. They have multiple documentaries on the death of JFK, but we're just supposed to believe this one media outlet version that preyed on our trauma and our pain. And then if I talk to rich black people or white people, Jew or Catholic or atheist, they're really into the Jewish media comment because it affects their business interests.
Okay, well,
and it was really interesting.
Let me just pick you up on the two things you mentioned. The first one is what you said about George Floyd. And the reality of that, it's not a media interpretation of how he died, because the Hennepin County Chief Medical Examiner concluded that Floyd died from cardiopulmonary arrest. His heart stopped, complicated by the way the police restrained him and compressed his neck. Now, he also said there were other contributing conditions.
Wait.
Well, hang on, let me finish. There were other contributing conditions, narrowed arteries, high blood pressure, and fentanyl intoxication. But although these were significant conditions, he said, and things that played a role in the death, they didn't directly cause the death. The cause of death was what that policeman did with his knee to George Floyd.
Person?
Well, why would a coroner lie?
What makes you believe that?
Why would a coroner lie?
Because he could get paid to lie. Because he could get paid to lie. Because
I watched it. I watched it for 8 minutes.
The majority of the press.
Right, but I watched it for 8 minutes.
Now tell me this: have you seen the Candace Owens BLM documentary?
I have watched some of that documentary. But here's what I would say to you: when you watch that video of George Floyd,
Zobaczcie, jakie to jest niesamowicie przydatne mieć wpływowego czarnego kolesia, który będzie podważał wszystkie te woke'owe, leftowe narracje za was, nie? Nawet nie musicie sobie brudzić rąk. On odhaczy te wszystkie paskudne rzeczy, które byście chcieli powiedzieć, ale wiadomo, że w dzisiejszym klimacie cancel cool to nie możecie, bo zostaniecie scancellowani. Macie Kaniego, on wszystkie te rzeczy, które byście chcieli powiedzieć, powie za was. Czy to nie cudowne? Czy to samo w sobie nie jest wspaniałe? Zero wysiłku. A ile korzyści? W sensie, wiecie, na tym etapie nie będzie zaskoczeniem, jak myślę, że jak Kanye w ramach jakiegoś performance'u stwierdzi, że założę białe szaty Ku Klux Klanu i im dopiero pokażę.
No, it's not a but. It's not a but. I need you to watch.
I know.
Okay,
I know what you said about... I know Candace.
I'm going to finish. La.
It's all right. You don't have to do that. I know what it means.
La means be quiet and let me finish.
But you did interrupt my question.
So with the BLM, no, I wasn't finished. You're pressing agenda. You haven't seen the whole thing.
I don't have an agenda. I just read you what the coroner said.
So we can have 20 different perspectives on how JFK died, but us as black people, not only can we only vote one way, we're not allowed to have any other perspectives, and that the area...
Kiedy on mówi, że czarni mogą głosować tylko w jeden sposób, to jakby oczywiście mówi o tym, że jest oczekiwanie, że czarni będą głosować na demokratów, ponieważ republikanie to partia rasistów, nie? Jakby ktoś miał wątpliwości w tej kwestii.
For George Floyd, where he passed, the murder rate is up 50%, and nothing. This is so-called movement, but it didn't move blacks anywhere.
Right, now listen,
so me as a black person,
I will say there are legitimate questions.
To jest oczywiście prawda. Jakby po wielkich protestach BLM nic nie zmieniono, ponieważ w pewnym momencie po prostu wyczekano, aż protesty wygasną, nie? Co samo w sobie jest oczywiście obrzydliwe, ale no to jest rzecz obok tematu, a nie w temacie.
About the Black Lives Matter movement, no question. But on the specific point about how George Floyd died, I don't think it's in question about what actually killed him. It was that police officer with his knee on his neck.
It is in question. It isn't question. I'm questioning it.
Well, you can question it, but what you're questioning is a coroner report.
Do you have friends that were killed by police officers? Do you have friends that were locked up? Do you have people aborting half your race? No. So I am the black person with the black experience that's worth $11 billion and is the most influential person on the planet, and I am questioning it.
Okay.
I have a right to question it.
Absolutely.
You can't tell me with your accent that me as an American, Jew, black person, that I cannot question that death and question the means. That was put on camera
I'm not saying you
to
can't
traumatize. I'm not finished. La means let me finish.
Okay.
I'm not finished talking. So I cannot see, because you distract my thoughts and then you try to make me look like a crazy person and you feel you have the right to cut me off. And I've proven you guys don't want it with me. This is like Terminator 20. You've never seen this before. So I want no one to play with me. I have the right to question because that videotape was used to traumatize my people and force us into the Democratic vote. Hey, George Soros, you're a real competitor. I respect you. I'm worth more money than you, and I have more influence than you, and have, Pierce Morgan from a different country saying, well, I'm not going to do an English accent because that would be racist. I'm funny, by the way.
That's fine. I know you can do that. As I said to you, the show is uncensored yet. You can say what the hell you like, right? But that doesn't mean I can't pick you up on a few things, right? You accept that.
I accept that, but you try to say it is unquestionable because this one Dr. Fauci said this. I know it wasn't Dr. Fauci, but I'm just giving an example where we hear from even Google. Like, people feel like, if you Google it, it's factual. There's so much non-factual information about me on Google, but then I still believe Google, and people pay to get certain information to the top of Google. But this is good. Keep going. Where else you want to go with it?
Here's where I want to go. The civil rights lawyer Lee Merritt responded to what you said about George Floyd's death and said, while one cannot defame the dead, the family of George Floyd is considering suit, which they're now doing, as you know, they're suing you for $250 million, for Ye's false statements about the manner of his death. Claiming Floyd died from fentanyl, not the brutality established criminally and civilly, undermines and diminishes the Floyd family's fight. So what is your response to that?
Well, anybody who loses a loved one, my heart goes out to them. Any race, my heart goes out to the pain of that. I have a theory about it. Now, this is not a fact. This is a feeling that I have. In the documentary, George Floyd's two roommates said that George kept saying, they want a tall guy like me. They want a tall guy like me. So for me, I'm a creative, right? I can make a dinosaur out of a femur, right? So if I'm making a dinosaur out of a femur, and I'm looking at a documentary that says George Floyd was telling his two roommates, they want a tall guy like me. And on the day of his death, he prayed for 8 minutes. They said he prayed longer than he ever prayed. What do you think, me as a creative mind, the beautiful mind, right, the sensitive mind, what do you think I feel could have happened in that situation?
Widzicie? I właśnie dlatego nie możemy mieć ludzi, którzy twierdzą, że mają piękne kurwa umysły, albo że artyści są szczególnie wrażliwi, nie? Ponieważ to, co tutaj się dzieje, nie ma nic wspólnego z wrażliwością, nie? To jest wszystko jego strumień świadomości, który wchodzi w tak mroczne i niepokojące miejsca, że kurwa nie wiem, jak można siedzieć, słuchać tego i być spokojnym, nie? I widzicie, jakby on niestety zmierza też ku jednemu punktowi, w którym ma rację, to znaczy, że biała supremacja jest bardzo powiązana z posiadaniem pieniędzy i że teraz, kiedy on ma pieniądze, może pozwolić sobie na pewne rzeczy, które ewidentnie robi. No ale to jest troszeczkę mimo wszystko obok punktu, którego słuchamy, nie?
Well, honestly, if I'm being honest with you, I would say that because of your brilliant, beautiful, creative mind, as you put it, I don't dispute that at all. You've got an extraordinary mind. And I can see that in the way that you conduct interviews. You go off on very long tangents, but they're sort of fascinating. I find it fascinating to listen to you. I'm not saying you don't have a right to question.
Quite. These are like Capote-level fascinating tangents.
No, we're not. I'm just saying it's the way you conduct yourself, and I think that's very interesting.
What do you mean? Not? Why is it, it's not Capote level?
Actually, I think you
Capote level.
If you would like me to compare you to Truman Capote, I am happy to do that. Yeah. If you want to be known as the new Capote, I'm with you. Okay. I'm not going to question your talent. Your talent to me is completely unquestionable, right? When you question that,
answer the question about the femur to the dinosaur.
No, I'm going to ask you a different question.
Situation.
I'm just going to ask you this.
No, you're not. You're gonna. I didn't finish my question.
Well, hang on. You can't tell me.
Answer my question
you can't tell me what questions to ask you. You accept that I'm the interviewer.
Answer my question. No, I said answer my question. No, I'm interviewing you too.
Well, you can't interview me. It's my interview.
You're Bono. I'm interviewing you too. See, that's the way we rap.
Let me just put this in.
So no. You're trying to avoid. You're trying to avoid.
No. La. To put a phrase. You're interrupting me now.
I'm going to get back to it.
All right, you can, but let me ask you.
Because you haven't answered my question.
Here's my question.
Chłopaki się dobrze bawią, nie? Chłopaki wiedzą, co to jest prawdziwa rozrywka. To jest... Ja nie wiem, cała ta rozmowa jest kurwa jakimś takim koszmarem pod tytułem... To jest osoba, którą uznaliśmy my jako społeczeństwo, że jest wartościowa i powinna być, powinna zabierać publicznie głos wszędzie, gdzie się tylko da. To jest ten człowiek.
For you, which you haven't answered.
No, I'm not. Don't answer my question. I'm not answering anything.
I'm going back to my original question in a way, which is simply this: I'm not saying you don't have a right to question how George Floyd died, but given the world watched that horrifying video.
Nie mówisz, że nie ma prawa, a może nie powinien? Może istnieją jakieś moralne powody, żeby nie kwestionować. Zobaczcie, jak Morgan się tutaj kurwa gnie, żeby jego rozmówca się nie obraził na niego, żeby tylko Kanye nie był zły i nie wyszedł z tej rozmowy, która przecież jest taką fontanną dobrego kontentu, nie?
Of that policeman's knee on his neck. And given that is what the coroner said caused his death, albeit he had other underlying conditions, including fentanyl intoxication, when the family see someone like you who's hugely influential, you're known around the world, questioning how their loved one died, they find that very hurtful, which is why they're now suing you for it. And my question for you is, do you understand the pain that sometimes your comments can cause, like this circumstance with George Floyd's family?
Now, I'm going to ask you a question again. With my imagination, when you see in the documentary that George Floyd's two roommates said they want a tall guy like me, they want a tall guy like me, and that he prayed extra long on the day of his passing, where do you think that takes my beautiful mind?
I think it can take you to a place where you want to believe something which may not be true. I'm not saying it's not, I'm just saying all the evidence points...
Zobaczcie. Myślę, że zaczniesz wierzyć w coś, co nie jest prawdą. Ale nie mówię, że to na pewno nie jest prawdą. Mówię, że to mnie prowadzi do takiego wniosku, nie? Kurwa. I tego właśnie wszyscy chcą, żeby zobaczyć, jak biały człowiek ląduje pod butem wpływowego czarnego gościa, nie? Kiedy mówię wszyscy, oczywiście nie mam nikogo na myśli tak właściwie, ale to jest ta dziejowa zemsta, którą z pewnością, którą mam wrażenie, że Kanye bardzo, bardzo celebruje.
I'm giving you an honest answer. My honest answer is I think that they wanted
that wasn't honest. That was a political
my honest belief is that
what do you guys do? People in the newsroom, what are they doing? They're like cringing right now. They're like, whoa,
no,
we never experienced this before. We never experienced
I'm not cringing.
a black entertainer that won't be threatened by the media to back down from his opinion.
Yeah, I think you mistake me. You mistake me for somebody who's going to be like the others. I have a show called Uncensored for a reason. I'm giving you a platform for a reason.
You're pressing an agenda.
No, I'm not. You're perfectly entitled to your opinions. But do you accept
you're lying now.
Do you accept you may not always be right?
I just called you a liar. How does that make you feel?
It's fine if you think I'm a liar. It's fine.
No, you're a liar. You're pressing the agenda of the pain and trauma economy that is pressed on my people by the left.
Actually, the trauma, I think, that was implemented to George Floyd was from a vile, white, racist police officer who kneed him to his death. And I agree with the coroner's findings because I don't see any reason why the coroner would invent that. So that's my belief. If you want to challenge that and you don't believe it, that's entirely your right.
I have a question. Who do you think are the biggest vile, white, racist? The media.
You think the media is racist?
What? Please, next question. Please don't ask me any retarded questions.
Okay, let me go to the next furore, which has been around you in the last couple of weeks, which is your attack.
Is that British for theory? Is that British for theory? What's theory, bro? Is that British for theory?
You actually have quite a good British accent. That's quite good. Let me ask you, if I can, about the allegations that you have...
Boże, ale Morgan jest takim butlikerem, że ja pierdolę, nie? Przypomnę wam, że to jest ten sam koleś, który jak dyskutował z JKM-em, bo niestety kiedyś zaprosił go do swojego programu na Dzień Kobiet bodajże, bo tam chodziło o to, że Kurwin powiedział, że kobiety są mniej inteligentne i Morgan bardzo próbował wycisnąć z niego skąd ten pomysł i dlaczego tak twierdzi, to kurwa on się cały czas wciskał w sensie cały czas jechał po Korwinie bez kurwa żadnych stopów, nie? I wtedy jeszcze pracował w telewizji, nie? Tymczasem teraz ale się lizusi po prostu. Niesamowite. Także wiecie, program Uncensored polega na tym, że boimy się, że nasz wysoce wpływowy gość się obrazi, jeżeli go spróbujemy w jakikolwiek sposób kontestować.
Made anti-Semitic comments. And in particular, when you said on Instagram, I'm a bit sleepy tonight, but when I wake up, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. Now, many people who are Jewish found that deeply offensive. They wanted to know, what did you mean by going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people? Because DEFCON 3, as you know, is a heightened state of awareness for military action. So what did you mean by that? Here's your chance to clarify what you meant by DEFCON 3 on Jewish people.
Well, thank you for allowing me to say what I meant due to the fact that I was blocked by Jewish people after I said that. So I wasn't actually allowed to say what I was about to say. But what I was going to say is, I was going to talk about all of the contracts, all of the misdealings that I dealt with as an entertainer. Being that I'm an entertainer, I've been wronged so many times by Jewish businessmen. And the reason why I say people, if a black man is caught in the car with drugs or a gun, and there's 3 other black guys in the car with him, guess what? They're all going to jail. So the reason why I say people is, I want those businessmen's wives and fathers, mothers, grandmothers, and kids to ask them, why is Ye so mad at us? Because they're taking money out of my children's mouths and putting it into their children's mouths. I'll give you this parallel and this analogy. If you take, I just talked to Irina Shayk, right? And if you look at a picture of her at age 14, this person is beautiful, like one of the most beautiful people that God has ever created, right? And if any man did her wrong at a young age, she would get to the point where maybe she would actually hate men. You've heard that terminology, right? So I'm at a point where I'm frustrated. I have the right to my anger, and I'm saying that people need to fix it. I'm not going to fix what I feel until what I'm feeling is fixed.
Okay, can I respond?
You're not just going
Czyli w skrócie on chce, żeby nie tylko ci żydowscy biznesmeni, ale także ich rodziny czuły stres, bo Kanye im pokaże, nie? Nothing wrong about that statement.
to shut me up and say...
No, I'm not going to shut you up. Can I respond to what you just said? My problem with what you've said, I'll be straight with you, is if I, as a white man, posted tomorrow on my Instagram, I'm a bit sleepy tonight, but when I wake up, I'm going DEFCON 3 on black people, what would you think?
Jew.
No, if I said black people, what would you think? If that was what I posted.
Well, did you accept that black people, you accepted that black people are Jew? Or
No, I'll come to that in a moment. On the specific though, if I simply said, in other words, all black people, was the implication of what I said, I would get rightly cancelled. I would get rightly vilified and abused. You, I suspect, would be outraged by a white person saying such a thing because you wouldn't make any distinction about whether I was talking about certain black business people I'd fallen out with or whatever. You would think I was judging an entire populace by the colour of their skin. You are, by saying Jewish people, on Jewish people, you're not saying Jewish businessmen, accountants, whatever, that you've had a problem with. You're basically saying in that statement, all Jewish people, which is why it caused such offence. And I'm curious whether you, even as you wrote those words, understood what Jewish people actually would feel when you said that and didn't make any specific references to any individuals.
Maybe they would feel how all my people have felt. Maybe they would feel the pain of when a black artist looks up and they've completely been raped by 5 Jewish businessmen. And there's multiple accounts.
Why does the fact that they're Jewish have anything to do with it?
Maybe they would feel like that.
But why would you say
it just so happens they are.
Well, okay, but why categorize them according to their religious faith, their ethnicity? Why would you do that? Why don't you just describe them as business people that you've dealt with? That's fine, but what you're doing by saying Jewish people, these constant tirades against Jewish people, many people find
that... Why tirade? That sounds like you have it...
I think it's a tirade.
Where's the tirade? That was a tweet. It was a tweet.
It's not just a tweet.
You asked me to explain it. And that... Have you felt my pain yet? You haven't felt my pain. You don't want to feel my pain. You don't hold You don't hold accountability to my pain. You're being a Karen.
I'm talking about... I'm not a Karen.
Przepraszam, ale kurwa, ta rozmowa idzie w tak cudowny sposób źle, że to jest jak oglądanie wypadku drogowego, który po prostu dzieje się dokładnie przed naszymi oczami i nie możemy oderwać wzroku na bogów. Pierce, jesteś Karen.
Pain.
I'm not a Karen, and I'm not going to cancel you, and I'm not going to uncensor you. I'm simply going to challenge you on what you're saying. I think you don't understand the pain that you've been causing with some of these comments. And I think that one in particular, I can understand.
Oh my God. God forbid one comment could cause people to feel any of the pain that my people have went through for years. Even like the blacks being ushered to the left during the civil rights movement. No one has cared about black people. No one is...
Let me say, I agree that the racism against black people has been utterly deplorable, shameful, unacceptable, and thank God the world is beginning to move to a better place about the way it has treated black people like you. However, one form of racism doesn't justify...
it's always in a better place.
One form of racism doesn't justify another.
It's not a better place.
I'm not cutting you off. I'm finishing my sentence. You can respond. One form of racism, it is racism when you say I'm going deaf for Jewish people. That's racism.
No, it's not.
It is.
I thought you had a platform where I could explain how I felt. You don't care about how I feel. You just want to shut me up. You don't want me to say out loud what my people have been going through.
I do.
Or do you?
I do. I'm very happy to do that.
So what have my people have been going through? What led me to that point?
My point
is, a person, a successful, influential, extremely attractive person to get to that point?
I am not doubting for a moment that you will feel genuine pain about the racism against you and other black people in America. Not for 1 second would I deny that.
Racism by who?
By anybody. I think any form of racism is wrong. Any form of racism is wrong.
I didn't say DEFCON on anybody though.
You said DEFCON 3 on Jewish people, specifically Jewish people. You didn't say any particular Jewish person. You said basically all of them. That is racism, Ye. And I think if you were honest with yourself, given the fallout from this, you would think again about how you phrase that sentence. Because actually, you didn't mean all Jewish people.
Given the fallout. Given the fallout.
Do you care about the hurt you caused Jewish people?
What fallout?
Well, you were removed from social media.
Oh, wait a second. You're not allowing me to talk, Chris. You're not allowing me to talk, Chris. Oh, I thought it was the same person.
He's American. I'm British.
So the thing is, I want to bring joy to the world. I'm a composer, right? And this is a symphony. Our life is a symphony. We have so many beautiful ideas, but I feel the anti-Semite has been a wall, a cloak that allows Jewish businessmen, boom, I'll only be the police officer that says, hey, this guy with the gun is the only person going to jail. I'll be the first person that does that in history, right? So look, no one else in this car riding with the guy with the gun and the drugs is going to jail. Are you happy? I'll play by rules that are not played by for my people, just for the sake of this
I don't want you playing
right?
by any...
So that makes you happy, right?
I don't want you to say things just to make me happy.
That's what colonizers do, is give us rules.
I'm not trying to colonize you. I'm not trying to colonize you. I'm not trying to censor you. All I'm saying to you
jakby chciałem zwrócić uwagę, że to jest hardkorowe, nie? Ale on przypierdolił, jak rozmawiał z Tuckerem Carlsonem tak mocno, że nawet koleś, który produkuje po prostu cały czas content związany z białą supremacją, stwierdził, że tego się nie da wyemitować na Fox, nie? W sensie, że jego wypowiedzi są tak bardzo nienawistne, że to nie pójdzie w telewizji. Dlatego on na początku w ogóle mówił, że go amerykańskie media cenzurują, nie?
is when you use a phrase, like I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people.
Did you hear what I just said, though?
Yes, I did.
We're past that. We're past that in the conversation.
We're not past it.
Did you hear what I just said?
We're not past it.
Are you happy that I said I'll focus
Let me explain
on... Are you happy that I said...
I know. I heard what you did.
Brother, why are you talking over me?
Let me respond.
Chris.
I'm Chris. Let's respond. Let me respond, right? I'm simply saying what you've just said is not what you said on your Instagram post, and you know it, right? If you have a problem with particular businessmen who happen to be Jewish, that is a concern for you.
And you know it.
So you talk about all Jewish people.
But brother, what is the point? Brother, do you want me to grow from the statement? I just told you, okay, I was in a position where I've been hurt, and this is the way I had the right to express myself. The point of this interview is for you to question me, and then for me to answer and say, okay, even though the same rules are not applied to my people, if a person with a gun or drugs is pulled over and has 3 other people in the car, they're all going to jail. I'm not going to apply that to Jewish people for the sake of this conversation. Isn't that what you wanted? But you know what you did? You tried to civil rights me. You tried to pull me back to a week ago. But we're here today. There's been plenty of conversations and commentary since that. But you want me to go back to 1960.
No.
You want me to go back to 7 days ago.
All right, let me jump in. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to reflect.
Okay, so have we grown? Have we grown?
Here's how we grow. Yeah, here's how we grow. I want you to reflect.
No, have we grown? You're not in charge of my growth. You're not in charge of my growth, Chris.
Okay, let me phrase it like this. I'm about to suggest to you how you may grow if you choose to grow this way. And you can ignore me. You can ignore me.
Pierce, how much money are you worth?
Not as much as you, sadly.
Exactly. So take my advice. Maybe you'll get richer.
I would love to take your business advice.
Why would I listen to you?
Why do you hear what my advice is and then work out if I'm wrong? Can we do that deal?
You haven't given me any credit or a moment of reflection for the comparison that I made, the brilliant, if I do say so myself, comparison that I made to the cops pulling over one black person and locking everyone up, and my tweet having issues.
Wydaje mi się, że Pierce może czuć się jak kiedy rozmawiam z 8-letnim kuzynem. Ja myślę, że ty, kiedy rozmawiasz z 8-letnim kuzynem, nie obawiasz się tego, że twój kuzyn strzeli focha i wyjdzie, a ty nie zarobisz przez to miliona monet, nie? A to jest ewidentnie bije cały czas z tego, co Morgan robi, bo nawet ten kurwa skromny pushback, który robi, jest zaraz, chwilę później po prostu zagłaskiwany, nie? Byleby nie powiedzieć nic, na co mógłby się Kanye obrazić, nie?
I wasn't done with the sentence. La la la. my tweet referring to all Jewish people, and I said, for the sake of this conversation, I will refer to the business people who have destroyed me and my people and my fellow creatives. But you didn't even accept that I gave you that. You tried to push me back into 1960.
No, I
you tried
didn't.
to push me back into last week.
No, I didn't.
Okay,
I
so you
said-
accept that example that I gave you.
I understand completely the example you gave me. I think all racism is wrong.
So I feel that we've grown.
I would like you to reflect.
I feel we've grown. Do you feel we've grown?
If you've now changed what you wanted to say originally, my question for you is, do you now regret saying
I update
DEFCON
every
3
day.
on
I
Jewish
update-
people? Are you sorry you said that? I don't think it matters. You should be.
Absolutely not.
You should be.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, but yeah, you should be.
Absolutely not. Are the people, the Jewish businessmen that led me to that place, are they sorry for the way they've raped my
I don't know who
people?
you're talking about in particular, but I don't know why you keep having to say
And
they're
by the way,
Jewish.
you wouldn't-
What does the
but
fact
you
they're Jewish got to do with anything? Why do you keep
What do
doing
you
that?
mean? They're the Jewish businessmen that did that
They're
because
business
they are.
people.
That's what they did.
Why do you keep saying Jewish business people? Why do you keep using their
let me-
religion,
let me-
their
okay,
ethnicity? Why do
let
you keep
me
doing that?
Let me update it then. Okay, so I'll say this. Would I have grown into...
Zobaczcie, nie? Nawet jakby to jest dokładnie ten poziom, na którym nawet kurwa największe konserwy zaczynają rejestrować. O fuck, on robi antysemityzm, nie? Trzeba zareagować, bo jeszcze wyjdzie, że ja jestem na tym samym kurwa w wagonie, nie? Jeszcze ktoś pomyśli, że ja akceptuję takie dopierdolki. Szczególnie, że wiecie, no chyba też oczywiste jest to, że Kanye jakby zaczął sprawdzać, którzy z tych biznesmenów, którzy wykorzystują jego, są Żydami, to szybko by się okazało, że za dużo to by ich nie było, nie? Poza tym jestem bardzo ciekaw, jak uczciwe są kontrakty samego Kaniego, nie? Bo przecież on ma wytwórnię. Ja w sumie i tak jestem zaskoczony, że od 2016 cały czas sobie radził i dopiero teraz wszystko, co robi, wybucha mu w twarz. Jakby wymieniać rzeczy, za które mniej popularne osoby mogą zostać zniszczone za to, co on zrobił. Ja myślę, że mimo wszystko takie rzeczy jak jego związek z Kim Kardashian podtrzymywały troszeczkę to poczucie, że no on może ma troszeczkę odpały, ale w sumie to jest dobry owoc jego belli, nie? A teraz, kiedy wszystko, kiedy właśnie jego relacja z Kim się posypała, kiedy okazało się, że on jest w stanie własne dzieci zdoksować i cała masa takich innych rzeczy zaczęły wychodzić na światło dzienne, to nagle się okazuje, że liczba rzeczy, które ludzie są w stanie zaakceptować i przyjąć, zrobiła się drastycznie mniejsza. I w dużym stopniu o to się to wszystko rozbija. Że po prostu przestrzeń, w której kiwamy i mówimy tak, to jest okej, to jest akceptowalne, się dramatycznie skurczyła. Szczególnie, że no jakby umówmy się, jego pomysły typu bratanie się z Trumpem nie przysporzyły mu raczej popularności.
the box you want me to go in if I say to specify the business people that have raped my people that just so happen to be Jewish.
I think by doing what you've just done, I find that I'm not even Jewish, and I find that offensive. Why do you keep having to do that? I don't think you get it at all. I don't think you understand the offense you're causing when you keep using their religious background, their ethnicity, as a stick to beat them with. Why would you do that?
So what are you more concerned about? Getting the richest black man of all time to kowtow because it's not going to happen.
I don't want you to kowtow. You can do what the hell you like. You're a billionaire. You can do what the hell you want. I'm just saying to you that I don't think you quite understand when you talk about. Okay, can I finish?
It's not multi.
You're a multi-billionaire. Okay, well, congratulations. But that doesn't change the fact that when you insult the Jewish people and say you're going DEFCON 3 on the Jewish people, that is as racist as anything you say you've been through and any pain that you've experienced. It's the same thing. Racism is racism. And you know that, I think, don't you?
Yeah, obviously. That's why I said it.
So you said it knowing it's racist?
Yes, I fought fire with fire.
Okay.
I'm not here to get hosed down.
At least that's
a
honest.
different type of freedom fighter.
That's honest. All right. You were racist because you knew it was racist, but you decided to do that because people have been racist to you. Is that your position?
No, I'm not. First of all, I can't. What is the beginning? Read the whole tweet. I'm sure you have it in front of it. Somebody in your office has it. Get him a coffee and a yay tweet.
What do you want to know, the whole tweet?
I want you to read it out loud, sir.
I'm a bit sleepy tonight, but when I wake up, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. The funny thing is I actually can't be anti-Semitic because black people are actually Jew. Also, you guys are toyed with me and tried to blackball anyone who opposes your agenda. That was the exact tweet.
I like reading that whole thing. I can't be anti-Semite. I love Jewish people. I work with Jewish people. Yo, watch this. Some of my best friends are Jewish.
Right, so you know how that
sounds. How many
sounds.
times have you heard that statement?
Of course, of course.
Wait. Have we ever heard that term before? But the funny thing is, they are. I work with Dove Charney that got kicked out of his company, out of American Apparel. I work with this guy every day. He's like my twin. He's one of my favorite people on the planet. And we work through that. We talk through it. And he says, yay, why are you so mad? And I'm like, this is why I'm mad. This contract right here, what's going to happen before I'm done? We're going to open up all of the music industry contracts, all of the publishing deals, all of the athlete deals, all of the acting deals, all of the mortgages. All of the deals
but that's
where
fine. But yeah, that's all
business
fine.
people who we went at.
That's all fine. You can do all
But it
that.
has to start somewhere.
Of course you can do all that. And when you do that,
has to start somewhere.
I hope you won't be judged as a black business person doing it all the time. That people don't phrase it all the time by the color of your skin, but by your business acumen. Isn't that what you would like? Isn't that what equality actually means?
Of course I'll be judged by that, because when people come into power, people get judged.
W sensie, bo widzę, co piszecie na czacie, że co on gada i Boże, dlaczego tak gada. On uważa, że w kontekście tego wszystkiego, tego całego, kurwa, wiecie, pełnego uprzedzeń rasistowskiego gówna, które wypływa, on jest usprawiedliwiony w robieniu tego samego, nie? W sensie, wiecie, to jest taka mentalność, mnie zrobili bubu, więc ja innym też mogę robić bubu i koniec. No i siema, no i cześć. No, to jest dokładnie tak straszne, jak może się wydawać. No, on idzie w kierunku kolegę Semitę, bo on uważa, że to jest jedyna legitna forma odegrania się za to, że rasiści mówią takie rzeczy o czarnych, no.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's nobody that gets judged more than a straight white male. The straight white male has the least amount of a platform to even speak. A straight white male can't say, my wife hurt me today, because people say, well, you're hurting women. A straight white male can't say, hey, a black employee didn't come in to work on time, because then people will say you're racist. A straight white male can't speak on a homosexual person because they'll say you're homophobic. And so I empathize with the position of the straight white male. And part of the reason why I empathize with that position is because I know that I'm headed to that position. And what position that is? Top power position.
Okay.
That's the top power position.
Widzicie, on się pochyla nad strasznym losem białych heteroseksualnych mężczyzn, ponieważ wie, że tam jest że to właśnie tam jest prawdziwa siła, prawdziwa władza i on zamierza po nią sięgnąć, no. Przynajmniej ktoś to powiedział na głos. Nie, żeby to było dobre, ale przynajmniej ktoś to powiedział na głos.
Where you get all the rocks thrown. And
Okay.
that's the thing. I have friends, right, that will like, you know, actually that's the reason why I'm going to be a good leader someday, because I'm really empathetic. But I call black people out on their stuff. I call white people out on their stuff, because we're all people. We're actually only one species. And in order to, whether it's my friends texting me like, bro, you got to get in the gym. You're looking chubby in the photo. You know, it's like we have to hold each other accountable to what's actually happening. And it's so much is based on you did that tweet wrong. So what I will say is, I feel that my words demand more sensitivity for the frequency that I'm operating at and the amount of people that I'm communicating to. And I take that responsibility right now. But I will also say everything happens for a reason. Because if it had been perfectly worded in English, and because there's nothing whiter than English itself, right? I'm already not speaking in my mother tongue, right? So if I had perfectly worded it in the most sensitive way, then we wouldn't be here right now. Now we're opening up the conversation. Like I'm not allowed to say whether or not I'm running for office in 2024, but I'll tell you what, if the left, let's say the left would have never supported me anyway. And now I've got to call to attention, I am who you should support. The left did not allow Trump to be president. They treated him like he wasn't even the president. So even then he won, he was losing half of the American people every day, and it divided the country. What I'm saying, whoever goes into office, for British media, for American media, we must support our leaders and not just run this hyper negative. You know what I will, and black people hate when I apologize for this. When I see people like John Legend and Chrissy Teigen talk down on the president, I'm like, wow, that kind of sounds like me. That kind of sounds like the telethon. I opened up this level of disrespect towards our leaders. And people were happy. And the left saw that and say, well, let's just have every celebrity do what Ye did at the telethon. So I take responsibility for that moment. And you know what? I just want to give every Jewish person a big hug. Also, I'm envious of the Jewish people. I'm envious of how they don't abort their children. I'm envious of how they don't shoot each
To nie ma nic wspólnego z rzeczywistością, nie? W sensie aborcja jest rzeczą, którą Żydzi normalnie robią.
other in the streets and then rap about it. I'm envious of how their families stay together. I'm envious that they turn their phones off on Friday night and the family comes together. I'm envious of how they do the business together. And I want that for the darker Jews. I want that for the black people. I want that. We need that. God said we should remove the word want, right?
Okay.
We're going to have that.
Czy Kanye wspiera Bidena? Absolutnie nie. Bo nie jest prawdziwym prezydentem, czy coś.
And
Okay.
this is the beginning of it.
But
you
it
know?
seems to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me that you are acknowledging, as you've just acknowledged that it was wrong to say what you said about President Bush when he said he doesn't care about black people, and that may have encouraged all this disrespect towards presidents since. I think it's an interesting point you made. It does seem to me, Ye, talking to you, that even if it's hard for you to admit this, that you do regret the wording of that tweet which caused all the problems, and you wouldn't phrase it that way again. Am I right?
I would tell my dad that. My dad loved the White Lives Matter T-shirt because what audacity does a black man have to wear the exact same T-shirt that a white man could wear? You know, and my dad was a Black Panther. I mean, we have a water purification center. You know, he's like the original Steve Jobs. He's the educated version of me, right? And he liked both of those things, but he said
Jego ojciec, który był czarną panterą, z całą pewnością byłby zachwycony tym, co robi jego syn. I praktycznie on realizuje w 100% politykę Czarnych Panter. Tyle, że nie. Przerażająca jest ta rozmowa.
you know, Ye, he even calls me Ye now. He's like, Ye, you've got to be more sophisticated with your wording. And that wording, like I said, I'm a bit sleepy. And it lacked the sophistication needed to be the true conductor that I am. Because it's the conductor's job to bring people together. And that was divisive, which is not who I want to be.
Right. So,
so I'll tell you that. I'm not looking. And also, let me
Well,
put
sounds
out
like
right
you agree.
now
So it sounds like you agree with me. Do you agree with me then?
I want to talk. Okay, let me say that I'm just thinking right now what's on my heart is the idea for people who do actually have severe mental health issues. You know, the word retarded. For, you know, there's parents that have children who actually are mentally ill, and that word is really offensive to those people.
So why use it?
And just because I was feeling what's a couple reasons. Because people call me retarded, they treat me like I'm retarded. And so I embrace it. It's like you call somebody a so much, they say I'm. You call somebody a bitch so much, they say I'm a bitch. You call somebody a retarded so much, you say I'm retarded. Like I was exhausted, and I embraced the idea of having a serious mental health issue. But Noah also, but Moses was basically on speed when he was doing what he did.
Let me ask you, look, out of interest, how much sleep do you get?
Przepraszam, ale Mojżesz był na speedzie. Jest jedną z tych rzeczy, które nie umiem się powstrzymać, no.
Yeah, a night.
I'm not here to talk about how much sleep I get. I don't owe you that.
You've literally just been talking about...
How much sleep do you get a night?
I had about 5.5 hours last night, actually. Not very much. But you're the one that's raised this issue...
And I probably had the same.
Right. My question is only
probably had the same, but
it's only because you've been talking about you don't believe you have a mental illness. You think it's lack of sleep. So I think it's an obvious question to ask, well, how much sleep do you get? Are you constantly sleep deprived? Is that one of the reasons, perhaps sometimes, as you say, you feel sleepy and you shoot from the hip verbally and you say stuff that maybe when you're rested, you wouldn't say it the same way? Would that be fair?
Tell me what's... Okay, no, it's not fair. Because what's more important? The pain and the truth of what I'm talking about and what led me to that tweet, or the tweet itself?
I think both can be true.
Because
the problem you have is, I think you've acknowledged.
One tweet,
I think you've acknowledged that the wording of the tweet was offensive.
Years.
Yes, I understand, but
To jest chyba póki co najbardziej taki agresywny, najbardziej agresywne zagranie ze strony Pierce'a Morgana. To znaczy spróbował jakby złapać go, żeby się przyznał, że być może faktycznie jednak ma jakieś problemy psychiczne, nie? Że jakby być może część z tych rzeczy jest rezultatem tego, że jego zdrowie psychiczne nie jest w najlepszym miejscu. To oczywiście można mieć zastrzeżenia do takiego zagrania, ale mimo wszystko też w pewien sposób wykazuje, jak bardzo Kanye próbuje zaprzeczyć i zaczarować rzeczywistość, nie? Bardzo powiedzieć, że nim nic nie jest.
know the damage it caused, and
I understand that was offensive.
And I think that you have accepted
The
you probably shouldn't have phrased it that way.
You as a white person are so stuck on the idea that what I said was offensive, which is a very caring approach. You're not sticking on the fact. You have not unpacked what happened with those contracts. I've said that, but you didn't ask me another question about it. That means there's an agenda
Absolutely not.
inside of your platform.
I have repeatedly said to you I'm sure, I do not disbelieve that you've had contract business issues with various managers, accountants, and so on. My argument is that when you
Just
do
me
when
or other me's?
I'm sure
Other
many,
me's.
I'm sure many other artists in the
me's.
music business. Yeah, of course.
You know why you're sure? Because you don't care to do the research because it doesn't affect you.
No, it's because you said
Have you done any research?
No, yeah, let me explain to you. I'm not doubting what
You
you're
don't
saying.
care.
I do care.
You don't care about me. You don't care about my people. I care about me. I care about my people. So it's for me to stand up. And God forbid I step on someone's toes while I'm at it.
It's not someone's toes. You stepped on the entire Jewish people's toes with a very deeply inflammatory tweet, which I think you've now accepted. You shouldn't have phrased that way. It's taken a bit of time to get there, but I think you've accepted that, right?
Have you accepted that you've put no effort into understanding how I got there?
I don't think, honestly,
10 years from now,
honestly, I don't think
you're
there is
going
any.
to apologize to me about this
No, I'm not.
interview.
I'm not.
You're going to
I'm
apologize
not.
to me about this interview within the next 10 years.
No, I'm not, because here's the thing.
Jesus Christ.
I don't doubt you've had.
It's very one-sided.
No, it's not.
Very
No, it's not.
white-sided.
Oh, come
it's very
on, yeah,
one-sided.
don't-
It's very like.
It's
yeah.
not white-sided. I'm not doubting you've had business issues. I'm saying the way to respond to that is
You
not to
keep on
go
saying
public
me.
to millions
no,
of people
not me.
and say
You
you're
keep
going
on
DEFCON 3 on Jewish
no,
people.
millions of people.
All right.
Millions of people have had DEFCON 3 on their contracts.
Right. You
Millions
didn't-
of
you
people
didn't say
have went
that.
home to their
You
girl
didn't say
and
that.
said, millions of people. Well, I opened it up. Now I didn't, but now I'm saying it now. Sir.
Okay, so now what
I'm
I think you
saying
should
it
say,
now.
I think you should say to the Jewish people, I'm sorry for the offensive language I used in that tweet. I wouldn't do that again. This is what I really meant. I think people would respect you if you said that. I don't know why you can't just say that.
Let me. You know when I'll say it. When I sit down with the people who write out the contracts for the NBA and for the NFL and for professional music and for acting contracts. We need to go to the top lawyers, the top execs, the owners of the stadiums, the owners of the football teams, and the owners of the record labels. And we're going to put them all in one room. And we're going to read let's go top 10 in each one of these categories, right? Let's read Michael B. Jordan's
but why would
contract.
any of that-
Let's
okay,
read
but
Aaron
why would any
Donald's
of that- why would any of that-
Hey, bro, I ain't finished. I ain't finished my sentence.
Nothing
I ain't
you're-
finished
nothing
my
you're saying
brilliant
has
idea.
anything to do
Hey,
with
boy,
regret.
Hey, boy,
Don't call me boy.
don't finish. I told you. Oh, don't treat
Jedziemy w jakiś... To jest ta karuzela po prostu jest niesamowita. Po pierwsze, on jest... Nie, to nie jest... To jest A-boy, to jest bardzo, bardzo takie southern do niewolników, nie? To jest bardzo nacechowany język. W sensie Kanye w opór czuje... To jest niesamowite, nie? On się czuje tym kolesiem, który... Znaczy, w sumie nie potrafię nawet stwierdzić, czy on się czuje, czy on myśli, że tak faktycznie jest. To ciężko jest cokolwiek wydedukować z tej rozmowy, ale on jakby prezentuje się, chce się prezentować tutaj jako głos ludu, głos uciskanego ludu, za który on mówi, nie? Wow.
me like a boy then. I'm going to finish my sentence and my idea.
Nothing you're saying has got anything to do with the tweet.
Cool. Bro, I was in the middle of a sentence, boy. Okay, so are you going to allow me to finish my sentence?
Yes. If you then answer my question.
Okay, so I'm going to tell people when I would apologize for the tweet. This is what has to happen first. I need all of the top executives in Hollywood. I need the top executives at the NBA and at the NFL. We'll do those two sports specifically. And I want the top executives in music, dealing with publishing, dealing with like Spotify and Apple Music and Universal Music and all the top exec. Let's do like 5 top execs there. And I want to look at the top 10 earners in each one of those fields' contracts openly. We want to compare and contrast the contracts. And then once we open that conversation, and we need to do it on a platform live with lawyers asking questions, and we'll have the top lawyers like a Johnny Cochran, Robert Kardashian level legal team, looking at all of these contracts together.
Robert Kardashian był jakby zyskał sławę dzięki sprawie O.J. Simpsona, czyli tego zawodnika futbolu amerykańskiego, który zabił swoją żonę i jej kochanka i został za to uniewinniony, tak dla kontekstu.
After that moment happens, then I will say, I'm sorry.
Okay, if that's your position.
Interview adjourned. Love you.
Nie. O.J. Simpson był tego. Grał w futbol amerykański i jako taka gwiazda dużego kalibru występował też w filmach, ale jego droga do kariery była przez futbol amerykański. Więc a jeżeli lubicie filmy z Lesliem Nielsenem, to OJ grał w Nagiej Broni. A, dobra, bo on tutaj wyszedł na chwilę, bo niby szczelił foszka.
From you that you're okay. That's the end of the interview. I mean, I just get the feeling from you that you're obviously a complex character, brilliant in many ways, fascinating, like I say, compelling. You have a huge appeal to millions of people around the world. It just seems to me that occasionally your mouth gets you into trouble and that perhaps on reflection, sometimes you look back and wish you hadn't said things. Is that accurate?
Nah, not really. Because the things I say are on behalf of God. Like, it's not always godly because I'm a man, but God is definitely using me. You're Catholic faith?
I am,
What's
yes.
your background?
I am
What's your
Catholic.
religious?
Catholic, yeah.
Well, we're working for God here. And it's just like with black people now with entertainment, we're coming into wealth, but all the other, black people with anywhere near my amount of wealth would never cross the lines of, taboos inside of the media that I would, that actually we used to in rap. All these words, we used to say these, so it's all these like words that are being removed from our vocabulary, words that evoke emotion. Don't you feel like the salt is being taken out of our food? Look at Dune. The people who control the salt controlled all the money. And people are trying to control the salt, and it's salt in our language.
Nagle jesteśmy w Dunie, nie? Witamy na Arrakis. Ta rozmowa jest jedną z najdziwniejszych rzeczy, jakie w tym roku zobaczycie, nie?
That's why I will not apologize for having a bit of salt in my words. I will say, hey, this can be improved on, but it's like, hey, look, I'm gonna update. You're looking at God's iPhone 100. We are God's iPhone, right? If you think about it, we're his favorite creation. We were made in his image, and we need updates. And society, capitalism, media, and thought police.
Chcę powiedzieć, że on wyszedł i wrócił? Tak, oczywiście. To jakby, czy na tym etapie cokolwiek was tutaj zaskakuje? Wiecie, zwróćcie uwagę na to, ile razy on powiedział, że jest kurwa najgenialniejszym tego. On na początku tego wywiadu powiedział, że jest kurwa w top 5 największych pisarzy w historii ludzkości, no. Ta rozmowa jest dokładnie taką kurwa karuzelą emocji, jaką powinniście się spodziewać, ponieważ on ma jakieś bardzo, bardzo mesjanistyczne odklejki, nie? On ewidentnie jest przekonany, że że kogoś zbawia. W sumie ciężko powiedzieć, kogo dokładnie, patrząc na to, jak bardzo on jedzie, ale ewidentnie jest przekonany, że kogoś zbawia. Także, nie bądźcie zdziwione za bardzo.
Have been stopping us from our updates. We have to have a thought, and then we have to actualize it. I like the word actualize better than execute because execute's a negative word. We discussed this. We have to actualize. There's so many, think about, for a homosexual kid age 12 at school, not wanting to say out loud how he felt or feeling like if he said how he felt, he would get bullied. Or what if he said how he felt and then somebody said, you said the way you felt and what your experience was in the wrong way. Now you need to apologize. We're fine that you felt that way, but you need to apologize for the way you said it. But just having the courage to do it in the first place would be, that's the thing that needs to be given credit. Like, yeah, you know what? We'll say in these past 2 weeks, I made a big splash. Because the first time you dive in the deep end, you're not going to look like an Olympic swimmer. But we're going to have to learn how to swim. And I've dived in the deep end.
Okay, I think I understand what you're saying. Let me ask you about your family. Yeah, lots of speculation, of course, constantly.
If you understand what I'm saying, could you translate what I'm saying?
Yes.
I want you to translate what I said.
I know what,
and then let's move on to the next question.
Okay, let me attempt to translate.
What did I mean by that?
I think what she meant was that you are not afraid to ruffle feathers. You're not afraid to cause trouble where you feel it's justified. You're not afraid to call people out who you think deserve to be called out. But that occasionally, you've expressed yourself in a way that perhaps hasn't quite hit the right mark, and that you are work in progress, as indeed we all are, and that you could phrase things better, which would cause less offence to a wider number of people, when in fact the target of your anger may be much more specific. That would be my interpretation of what you've just said.
Do you think that we can move forward as a civilization without there being any offense? Because one person's truth can be the other person's lie.
I think it entirely depends.
You know, it's like,
I think it entirely depends. Honestly, look, part of me wants to say yes to that, but I do think there is a line, and we should all be mindful of the line. And the line to me is I don't think any form of racism or perceived racism should ever be tolerated. I don't think that is free speech. It's just hate speech. And I think one of the problems with what you said about the Jewish people was the more generic way that you phrased that sentence. People didn't understand you were talking about specific business people you'd had a problem with. They thought you...
Nie no, on powiedział, że popełnił błąd, bo on jest tego, work in progress i że wszyscy popełniają błędy. No, czego chcecie? Czego chcecie?
genuinely meant you were going DEFCON 3 on all Jewish people, and they took that to be a blatant form of anti-Semitism. I think you've explained in this interview that was not your intention at all, which is good. But I think if you're asking me to interpret what you've just said yourself, that would be my interpretation. That, you know, you're work in progress, and sometimes you say stuff that doesn't quite get over what you're really meaning.
But what I really mean is, I don't want it to be settled. I don't want to be forgiven by Jewish people until we get to what the problem really is. I don't want, you know, like Elon, he got on Twitter, he said, I talked to Ye, he took it to heart. And I liked my boy standing up for me, but I was like, the fight isn't done though. Everybody, white media, left media, they just want to squash the fight. They want to keep the pain of George Floyd going, right? But they don't want the pain of our representatives.
What did Elon Musk say to you about the tweet, out of interest?
It's vague to me right now. I don't want to misquote him.
What was the general point of what he's saying?
It's vague to me. It's truly vague to me. I'm an honest person. I tell you what it was. But I keep on saying it's just always about this tweet. It's so much more. If you look back at this interview, and it's like a direction arrow, it's more in the direction of fixing the statement than fixing the problem.
I think both.
That's my problem.
I understand, but I would say to that, I think they're two different things, and you can fix both actually. And I accept that part of what you were trying to do and the point you were trying to make, I completely understand it because you've explained it in more detail. On Elon Musk, there is a suggestion that when he gets control of Twitter, which seems likely now, that he will bring you back. He'll bring Donald Trump back. Do you think that would be right?
It'll be lit.
Do you think it's wrong that you and Trump have been banned from these platforms?
Absolutely. I was talking to Trump a couple days ago, and he was like, I'm not going to do his voice, right? But he was saying, you know, I had 277 million followers, and the next day I had nothing. And that related to, you know, Mark Zuckerberg, Meta. You know, Mark Zuckerberg thinks he is the government. These tech companies feel they're more powerful than the U.S. government, to the point of actually kicking the actual president of the United States off of an American social media platform.
No nie. One generalnie po prostu stwierdziły, że nie mogą pozwolić, żeby łączono je z mową nienawiści produkowaną przez kolesia, który jest już na wylocie. Gdyby faktycznie znaczy inaczej, absolutnie kurwa nie należy bronić dużego biznesu, ale należy też kurwa pamiętać, że to nie jest tak, że Trump dopiero za 5:12 zaczął szerzyć nienawiść i robić rzeczy, które były obrzydliwe. To jest proces, który trwały, który miał miejsce przez znacznie dłuższy czas. I te firmy, tak długo jak on mógł je trzepnąć i usadzić, to nie miały żadnej odwagi. Odwagę miały, jak wiedziały, że kurwa wielki pomarańczowy człowiek już nie wróci, nie? Brać shota za każdym razem, gdy je mówi o postaci publicznej i powiadają dziwne take'i, to w tym momencie jesteście technicznie rzecz biorąc martwi. No! Ale ja myślę, że wiecie, że on jakby co chwila robi odniesienia do kogoś znanego, że cały czas jakby wstawia siebie w kontekst, w którym są inne osoby, to w dużym stopniu wynika z tego, że to mu pozwala zakomunikować odbiorcy, że jak bardzo ten odbiorca czy odbiorczyni powinni się z nim liczyć, nie? Jak bardzo on jest ważną osobą. I to jest zabieg, który no dużo ludzi stosuje, nie? Tylko on jest tutaj szczególnie widoczny ze względu na to, jak bardzo Kanyemu odjechał peron.
This is the world we live in.
And
I
I would
wanna
say,
say
listen,
that when
I agree with you, and I'll tell you why. I think it's completely inconsistent that companies like Facebook and Twitter allow people like the Ayatollah of Iran, for example, to remain on the platform, or Taliban people to be on the platform, but they don't allow an American president. That seems to me completely ludicrous.
Yes, and this is part of the 100-year plan that they have books on about, China's takeover of America after losing the Industrial Revolution. Now, let's talk about business people. We won't refer to their race. And by the way, I'll tell you, as a Jew person, a person that has a lot of Jewish friends, it's not a race, it's a people.
Right.
And every Jewish homeboy I know is gonna be like, yo, yeah, that's right. So, but it's hard to attract.
Pamiętajcie, stuletni plan, żeby kurwa Chiny zemściły się za przegranie rewolucji przemysłowej. Nie zmyślicie, znaczy zmyślicie tego, bo ktoś zmyśla te wszystkie teorie spiskowe, ale trzeba się naprawdę napracować, żeby to zmyślić.
It's hard to influence patriotism on capitalists. And it's a responsibility for us as Americans to retake our power in media, to retake our power in our schools, to retake our power in our farms, to retake our power in our medicine, in our hospitals, to revitalize the country. Because America invented rock and roll at the end of the day. We have the inventions. America created Apple. You understand? Like, we created the platforms that the world runs on now, and we've allowed the business people in these companies to sell us, and whatever the term is, sell them in a handbag, whatever it is, for cheap. And Americans are God-fearing, for the most part, God-fearing Christian people, and we're not cheap, and we can't be sold for cheap. And we're here to stand up and say, you got to honor who we are, our families. You got to honor our God, Jesus Christ. So, next subject.
Can I ask you something? Let me ask you something else here. I want to ask you about your family,
Yeah.
because you mentioned families there. A lot of stuff has been written about you and your family. A lot of it fueled by you, by Kim, by others. Where are things now with your family? What is your relationship like with Kim, with your kids?
Kim has Zionist media handlers surrounding her, all in and out her Hulu TV show, all in and out her family, all in and out the house that I created for my family. But God is alive. The devil is a defeated foe. And Kim is a Christian woman. And she's not here just to have content up on adult channels. She's not here just to have that last Interview magazine cover. If you look at the two Interview magazine covers, look at the one when I was there and look at the one when I'm not there. And that's the reason why this Tuskegee experiment of such that's happened to the black community, where they took the fathers out of the home and the leaders out of the community.
Tuskegee eksperyment to jest eksperyment, w którym zarażono czarnych mężczyzn bez ich wiedzy kiłą. I to jest jedna z tych rzeczy, które syfilisem, które sprawiają, że ponieważ oczywiście przez wiele lat tego nie wiadomo, a to były badania, które trwały przez dekady, które budują nieufność do medycyny w dzisiejszych czarnych ludziach, nie?
And have torn apart the community. Now they've seen that's worked, and they're doing that to America. They're attempting, they're trying.
I mean, that
It's not
interview,
gonna work on our dime,
the
though,
interview
because
magazine cover you're talking about, I think, is the one where she was basically semi-naked in front of the American flag. And I thought that was pretty distasteful, actually. It was about the American dream. And I thought, well, if that's the American dream, we're all screwed. I mean, in America.
And I agree with that. And I didn't feel the platform to voice my opinion because it's always like, hey, this is your kid's mother. But it's time with the leaders. Like, I'm still the priest of that home, Chris. I'm still the priest of that home. They want to make it this matriarch society, all that, and but I am the priest of this home, and God is alive. I am the living Robert Kardashian, and I'm going to stand up for what God would want as a Christian. And then people say as a Christian, oh, you're not supposed to curse. You're not supposed to have righteous indignation. But I do. Christians had swords also. Christians got guns. I tell you that. So.
But do you talk to Kim? I mean, there have been reports today that you and Kim don't really talk at the moment. She's distancing herself from you because of the stuff you've been saying was getting controversy. Is that true?
I mean, John Legend is distancing himself from me and buying more Christmas sweaters in the middle of spring also. So I'm not saying that, they're making the right decisions. She's being influenced, but I guarantee you what's not finna happen, we're not finna see her in one of them John Legend.
To jest przerażające, bo to jest też język kogoś, kto... To jest opór przemocowy język przede wszystkim, nie? Ta kobieta nie podejmuje nie podejmuje rozsądnych decyzji, ona jest manipulowana. Ludzie nią manipulują. Ponieważ on nie przyjmie do wiadomości tego, że ona może nie chcieć kontaktu z nim, czy może trzymać dystans do niego, nie? To jest też ważne i to jest też przerażające i to niestety dużo mówi o tym człowieku. Jakby on na wiele sposobów został po prostu zjedzony przez swoje ego.
Legend Christmas sweaters no time soon.
But do you talk to her? Are you still in touch
Don't
with
you
her?
wait? So don't you think it's like funny to like make a joke out of stuff sometimes? Don't you think like God has a sense of humor?
Of
God,
course.
but watch this. God. When I got married, I bought this house. I like, you know what I'm saying? I did this tour and spent all the money I had on this house to like surprise Kim and give her this house that she wanted, that Lisa Marie Presley used to own. And then I got the house and then I put all this money into renovation. And then there goes the neighborhood. Drake moves down the street 5 blocks. And that's when I knew God was funny. But watch, this is where God is even funnier. Here goes like Louis C.K. part 2 level, because Louis C.K. is the funniest man alive. Uncancel him now, right? So and he was funnier before he's canceled because all he would do is the type of jokes that you get canceled on, right? So,
Louis C.K. został scancellowany za to, że wyszło na jaw, że wykorzystywał swoją pozycję jako bardzo popularnego komika i na przykład masturbował się przed mniej popularnymi, przed aspirującymi komiczkami, które próbowały z jego pomocą budować sobie pozycję w branży, nie? Nie poszedł tak daleko, żeby faktycznie stosować przemoc seksualną wobec kogoś, ale no i oczywiście jego anulowanie trwało, znaczy wyglądało w bardzo podobny sposób jak anulowanie wielu innych ludzi. To znaczy, że w pewnym momencie postanowił, że ludzie się na mnie dostatecznie dużo powściekali, już im wystarczy, teraz zacznę odbudowywać swoją kulturę. Ponieważ tak naprawdę to, co znaczy anulowanie w naszym świecie, to znaczy tyle, że musisz na jakiś czas przestać być na scenie, nie? A potem
I got an office and, you know, outside of Crenshaw, like in an opportunity zone. And this office, 57,000 square foot office, is the one that Tucker Carlson came to visit me at. And I look out the window, and whose office is being built? A brand new one. The Skims office. It's like, who's writing this stuff? You know what I'm saying? Like, God is funny. So that's the thing. We always got to be like, we got to be funny. We got to have a sense of humor. Like, you know.
But yeah, let me ask you.
There's a lot. Yeah.
But are you sad that you're getting divorced? Are you sad the relationship came to an end?
That happened 2 years. We got the divorce 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've been got divorced.
Yeah. I mean, let me rephrase that. Are you sad that you're no longer together? That you're divorced?
We'll always be together. She dresses exactly like me. What do you mean? Like my kids are me. You know, there's no person that she'll ever get with that will influence her more than God and then her priest on earth, which is me. You know, whether it's the Skims clothing line, the designers, the architects, all those people. You got the Clintons, the left, utilizing what we built together to try to use her as an influence for the black culture and the word culture in general for the next elections.
Bardzo zastanawiam mnie, na ile ten człowiek jest świadomy, że on powtarza tak dużo, kurwa, tych spierdolonych, prawicowych teorii konspiracyjnych, na ile on to sobie zinternalizował już na tyle, że on naprawdę w to wierzy, nie? Bo, kurwa, słuchanie go jest trochę przerażające. Przerażające w tym sensie, że na Bogów typie co ty mówisz, nie? Co tu się dzieje? A tymczasem on nie przestaje, nie? I on jakby cały czas dodaje kolejne zwrotki do tego, do tej narracji, która no, jest z gruntu parszywa i z gruntu osadzona w jakichś takich głębokich uprzedzeniach i nienawiści, nie? Całkowicie ją pozbawił sprawczości. Czy on się nazywa kapłanem? Bo to wy nie wiecie, że on jakąś pseudoreligię założył? W sensie, że on się jakiś taki swój dziwny... Ja nie wiem nawet jak to nazwać, nie? To jest jakieś takie... Kult? chuj wie, nie? Chuj wie, jak to określić. Ale on takie religijne zapędy ma. On z jednej strony tutaj powtarza, że Bóg jest jeden, nikt nie jest tego tak potężny jak Bóg, ale z drugiej strony raz za razem w tym, co on mówi, widać, że on się trochę Bogiem czuje, nie?
Need those 300 million followers from Kylie and Kim on their side going into their election as they push trauma culture to the black people again, as they claim any of my questions of business dealings to be anti-Semitic comments, and push, Kim to, as a billionaire mother of a lawyer and a mother of 4 Jew black children, to do covers like Interview. And that's what happens when they take the dads out the home. And that's what they've been doing in the hood. They take the fathers and the leaders out of the home.
Widzicie, Kim zdecydowała się zrobić rozbieraną sesję, czy tam półrozebraną sesję, czy jakieś zdjęcie na okładkę, dlatego, że w jej domu nie ma ojca i przywódcy, nie? To jest, wiecie, to są wszystko te same właśnie paskudne, white supremacist, obrzydliwe narracje, które z pewnością uwielbia Candace Owens, która jakby byłbym zdziwiony, jakby nie naganiała Kaniego do tego wywiadu, i które absolutnie które klaszczą i kiwają głowami jej mocodawcy, którzy oczywiście są biali, nie? Którzy jakby chcą, żeby chcą mieć czarną osobę, czarną kukiełkę, która będzie promować antyczarne, mniejszościowe narracje. W sensie, on przez cały ten wywiad, nawet kiedy twierdzi, że mówi jakby w imieniu w imieniu czarnych osób, on zdaje się raz za razem jednocześnie umniejszać czarnym, nie? Jakby mówić, że nie. My nie mamy, my jesteśmy w rozsypce, my robimy aborcję, aborcje to w ogóle są nam wciskane przez złych ludzi, nie? To są cały czas rzeczy, które usłyszycie od pewnych bardzo konkretnych grup ludzi. I tych ludzi, od których to usłyszycie, ciężko nazwać dobrymi, nie?
And if we keep on allowing this to happen and we don't have some level of a decency clause inside of our media on what everyone sees, like when I was young and I would go to the video store, if I wanted to go into the adult section, it was a curtain, it was a person sitting there watching, making sure that kids didn't go in. If the kids went into that section, there was a video camera and they would you'd be escorted out of that section. Now that section is forced through TikTok. That section is subverted and kind of mixed with the drink inside of music directed at children, inside of content through Disney, on Hulu, which is Disney also, and in so many branded commercials to confuse children and to sexualize our children way too early before they can even make their own decisions about their life.
You make some very interesting points again. Just to clarify one thing, though, you are actually divorced, are you? Because my understanding was that you weren't actually divorced yet.
I ask God the same question some mornings. Am I divorced, God? Am I divorced? Because I might be divorced on paper, but I'm not divorced of the idea of being the protector of not only this person who is so influential. Imagine Kim making all of her decisions that she does publicly. Grown folks' business is grown folks' business. Never know what can happen with a little sippy or whatever. But, all the decisions that she makes publicly being based on an audience of one. And Pierce, what audience do you think I'm saying that is?
Well, you.
No, not me. For us as Christians, right? Who is our audience? We have an audience of one.
Well, you mean God?
God. So picture this world, envision this world. Here's another one. This is past what I'm saying about having the heads of the football teams and the basketball teams and the music industry opening up their contracts the way I do, right? Picture the most influential woman on the planet, which is Kim Kardashian, right? And I got this one thing I want to definitely say in the interview. Picture the most influential person on the planet, the most influential woman on the planet performing in public only for that audience of one, for God. Imagine the overwhelmingly positive effect that will have on the planet. And mark these words, it will happen someday. Okay. And I had this thing, of course I'm divorced, and this is like a a funny thing I thought. Being that her name is no longer
Wyobraźcie sobie, że najpotężniejsza kobieta na świecie występuje przed publiką złożoną z jednej osoby, z Boga, nie? Ja słucham tego i ja nawet na poziomie... Kurwa, jestem filologiem angielskim, ja nie rozumiem połowy tego, co on mówi, dlatego, że te myśli są jakimś... Mówię, to jest jakiś, kurwa, niepojęty dla mnie strumień świadomości, nie?
West, and my name is no longer Ye, if there was ever, being that her name is no longer West, and my name is now only Ye, if we were ever to be together again, what would our name be? Kim Ye.
Would you like that?
Everything is up to God, and God has proven to me many times that it's not about what I want or what I would like, it's just up to him on what he sees fit.
But
David had to.
Let me ask you.
tend
I mean,
to the
but do
sheep-
you still
to
love
the
Kim?
sheep? Sorry, not with an S.
Do you still love Kim?
I absolutely love. I love her for life.
To jest też niechujowe pytanie w ogóle, nie? To jakby... Nie wiem jak wy, ale ja z samego tego pytania czuję taki pewien dyskomfort, nie? Na zasadzie... Ja rozumiem, że plotkarskie serwisy zadają tego typu pytania regularnie, ale... Fuck off! Po prostu odpierdol się, typie. Ewidentnie żerujesz na człowieku, który raz za razem pokazuje, że jego stan psychiczny nie jest najlepszy i wypierdalasz z czymś takim? Całkiem dosłownie, kurwa, Pierce w tym miejscu powinien kopnąć się w głowę.
And I will protect. Oddly enough, I'll actually protect her because when I call out things that I feel are wrong, you know what I'm saying?
Najbardziej
When I make
rozwiedziony stary energia, jaką widziałem kiedykolwiek? Oj, zdecydowanie, nie? Zdecydowanie.
like say the difference between me and Bernard Arnault. Like say, watch, Elon Musk, every product, the reason why Elon Musk is like a Steve Jobs is if he makes a flamethrower, he would use that flamethrower. If he makes a Cybertruck, he would use that Cybertruck. Me, if I make some 3D printed boots, I'm going to have the 3D printed boots on.
Wow,
and
I
wear
love
them
those.
every day.
Can I get a pair of those?
Absolutely, sir.
They would
Tucker
really
like
suit
them
me.
also. These boots are a hit.
Love those.
Yes.
They're fantastic.
Yeah.
Would you like to one
you very
day,
much, sir.
do you think, given that you've got all these kids together, would you like one day to get back with Kim, do you think? Do you feel...
Może poziom lizusostwa Pierce'a jest tak przerażający, że kurwa wziąłby gówno buty drukowane na drukarce 3D, byleby tylko Kanye go zaakceptował, nie? Masakra.
like you've gone through a very tumultuous period, but that actually the love underneath it all between two people remains? And would you like to get back together?
Those thirst traps still be fire.
Is that
Do you understand what I said? Do you understand that language right there?
I think so.
Language?
You better explain it. Explain it to me.
What do you think those thirst traps still be fire means? Can you explain that to me?
Well, with my
Pierce?
rather
Explain
creative British
what
mind,
those thirst traps still be fire.
I would imagine it
With
means
your
that
creative, brilliant British man.
I would imagine it means you still fancy your ex-wife. Is that right?
You know, I would prefer to not be put on this. I would prefer to not be put on the spot on these kind of questions. What I can say is, God is alive, and He places people. He placed David in to tend to. God had David tend to the sheep, knowing that one day He would prepare him to fight Goliath. Mm-hmm. So I believe that day of me fighting Goliath has been this past 2 weeks. The media is Goliath, and there would be no chance of having a civilization or a civil democracy in America without me challenging the media 2 years out from the election. Because this thing that I'm challenging may be setting myself up to one day be able to be president, or it's maybe for the other president. But regardless, we have to have some decency in America as the thought leaders in the content that we put out.
But on that point,
Yeah.
you keep talking about the media as if somehow it's the media that's created all this furore in the last 2 weeks. But you have said other things which, in my opinion, the media couldn't ignore. You know, you suggested in your interview with Tucker Carlson that Gap, for example, the clothing wear company, had prior knowledge of the Uvalde shooting, which is obviously completely insane.
Rozumiecie? kurwa, to jest rzecz, którą on naprawdę powiedział. Że marka odzieżowa posiadała, jakby wiedziała z wyprzedzeniem, że dojdzie do strzelaniny w Uvalde, tak? Tej najnowszej strzelaniny w Teksasie. Dlaczego tak powiedział? Ale powiedział. Mógł. Poczuł, że to jest ta rzecz, którą warto powiedzieć.
Why would you say that? And then why would you be surprised if the media then react to it? They're bound to.
What I'm saying is that was word.
O, to, że niewolnictwo jest wyborem, to on powiedział chyba już dawno temu, nie? Że jakby czarni ludzie wybrali, żeby być zniewoleni, że mogli nie być.
That might have been worded in a way that the media could take in the wrong way, but I thought it was really interesting the amount of people at Gap. We had a release that was happening, and the amount of people at Gap that were rallying around this as a media moment. If they didn't know about that, where there's theories, you can't say that the theories about 9/11 are completely insane.
Actually,
that's just the person I am. I'm that kind of person.
Well, look, you're perfectly entitled to have theories. I think most of them are completely insane. But on this specific one,
okay,
on Uvalde, you even suggested that Matthew McConaughey.
Go
You even suggested that Matthew McConaughey may have. It was all a bit weird that he was speaking so early about it when in fact he came from Uvalde and spoke very passionately after this atrocity. So I think people read these comments and like, what are you talking about?
No, okay, so I'm not. What I'm saying is, I definitely feel there was a major media push around that to create trauma and fear culture, because the amount of people, and this is not to be in any way, I care about people who have passed away and have lost loved ones.
20 kids were shot dead in a classroom. 20 children were shot dead at school.
So let me explain.
No one in the media is putting
and
any sort of trauma into that. That is the trauma.
Okay, Pierce, how often does that happen in my hometown?
Well, the 20
week.
kids are killed in school in one mass shooting. As far as I'm aware, it's never happened in your hometown, has it?
Yeah, it does.
Not in one mass shooting.
Are killed in Chicago. I didn't finish.
Okay.
Let's not do this again.
Okay.
We reviewed
I
how that
understand.
goes.
You could talk.
At least 14 kids are killed in Chicago every week, and there's no media push around it. And that's my issue. When I was at Gap, there was no media push around the killings in Chicago.
But I would agree. I agree with you. I completely agree. My youngest son has recently been at the University of Chicago for a year, and there were 2 students shot in that time. I completely agree that there is never enough attention given to all the slaughter from gun violence in Chicago. Completely agree with you. What I can't agree with is any suggestion by you that anyone at Gap or Matthew McConaughey or anybody else had any prior knowledge of what happened at Uvalde. Of course they didn't.
What I'm saying is, I'm not saying they did, but with the amount of attention that went, understand, I was jealous, once again. You feel me? I'm jealous that so much attention went in this direction, but doesn't go into the direction of Chicago when
then
the same amount of people.
That's what you should say.
I'm not finished.
Yeah, but it comes down to the way you phrase these things.
Bro, hey, I just said it.
Yes?
To jest oczywiście w ogóle bardzo znany problem i w ubiegłym roku, zastanawiałem się, bo nie byłem pewien, w ubiegłym roku była taka sytuacja, że para młodych białych ludzi wyjechała na jakieś wakacje, wiecie, takie objazdowe wakacje kamperem, po czym kogoś wrócił sam. I jakby od niego było bardzo ciężko wyciągnąć, gdzie jest jego partnerka, co się z nią stało, dlaczego, i on bardzo kręcił i jakby momentalnie wylądował w środku podejrzeń, że zamordował ją. To była oczywiście straszna, tragiczna sytuacja, ale jedną rzeczą, która bardzo jakby weszła do dyskusji przy okazji tamtej sytuacji, było to, że i to jest coś, do czego, w sensie, co było tak dużym problemem, że nawet rodzice tej zaginionej dziewczyny zwracali na to uwagę, nie? Że jej zaginięcie stało się zyskało wielki medialny szum i sprawiło, że wiecie, wszyscy o tym mówili, wszyscy o tym pisali, to było wielkie halo, a tymczasem jakby o czarnych i rdzennych kobietach, które tam w którymś ze stanów tych przy północnej granicy, nie pamiętam w którym dokładnie, na przykład regularnie, znaczy z niepokojącą częstotliwością zdarza się, że znikają rdzenne kobiety i ich zaginięciami w ogóle media czy mainstream się w ogóle nie przejmują. Więc jakby Kanye, kiedy mówi, że on był zazdrosny, no to istnieje taki kontekst, w którym można powiedzieć, aha, rozumiem, nie? W sensie kumam, z jakiego on miejsca wychodzi, bo są powody, są podstawy do krytyki. Tyle tylko, że niezależnie od tego, czy te podstawy istnieją, czy nie, wszystko to, co on robi, jest po prostu, kurwa, wiecie, tłuczeniem kijem na oślep i jakąś taką dziwną próbą, nie wiem, zemsty czegoś, która która nie działa, nie? Która prowadzi tylko i wyłącznie do złych rezultatów. Która prowadzi do masy bólu, frustracji, do masy nienawiści, wynikającej bezpośrednio z tego, że teraz z kolei on umniejsza w pewien sposób czyjąś tragedię. Teraz z kolei on tworzy narrację, w której poszkodowane osoby są mniej ważne, mniej godne uwagi, dlatego że nie są jakieś. Więc no, Kanye tutaj bardzo mocno dokłada się do tego, o co wiecie, twierdzi, że sam jakby mu się nie podoba, że jest zazdrosny o to, że uwaga mediów jest skupiona w jednym miejscu, a w innym nie.
I just said, you're not always going to say the things the right way, but at least I have the bravery to open the conversation. Your first sentence isn't your last sentence. My first rap that I told wasn't my last rap that I told. And now that's the whole point. It's said. Once it's said, accept that it was said. I am the iPhone 20, right? I'm growing. I'm a hybrid. I'm updating. Okay. I'm constantly updating. That's what we're supposed to do. You can't drag me back because you enjoy that, right? When you bring it up, I'm saying, hey, this is what I'm saying. I felt, think about this. Have you ever heard the term premeditated murder?
Yes.
I feel like the George Floyd was a premeditated murder. That's my feeling based off of, and we never got to that in the beginning, but that's my feeling based off of the information I saw in the documentary.
I think it was a premeditated murder in the sense that I agree, but not for the reason you think. I think it was premeditated in the sense that policeman didn't give a damn about George Floyd's life, stuck his knee on his neck for 8 minutes and killed him. So I know we don't agree about that. I don't want to go back over that. I want to ask you,
I think the policeman was involved with it too, but not in the way that you think about it.
Right.
I think he was involved in a different way.
I think we'll have to.
I think he was also part of the setup.
Okay, look, we're not going to agree about that. But
He's been.
Ja nie wiem, czy wy złapaliście, ale to, co on mówił wcześniej, przytaczając ten dokument o George'u Floydzie, to znaczy mówił, że George Floyd mówił, że potrzebują wysokiego czarnego mężczyzny takiego jak on. To była bardzo mocna implikacja, że to wszystko było zainscenizowane. I to, co on teraz robi, to jest kontynuowanie tej implikacji, tak? To jest kontynuowanie tej narracji o tym, że cała ta rzecz była ustawiona i że to jest coś, co zostało zaplanowane. Także witamy w krainie koszmarów, nie?
Moved. He's been moved, and I need you to watch the documentary, and we can talk offline and then talk online again.
Okay.
Because what's not fair is for a white martyr like JFK to be analyzed 100 different ways, but then for a black martyr like George Floyd, for us to only accept the one way. That's like us only accepting the one way for the black vote.
Like I said,
we have the opportunity to look at it different ways.
Like I said to you, you are completely entitled to challenge anything, frankly, and I'm equally entitled to come back to you and say what I think. That's what democracy is about. Let me ask you before I want to ask you one thing about your.
But no, I got.
Okay. I don't want to keep going back to that same issue.
Disparagement right there.
Yeah.
But look at the disparagement, because I had an idea. I don't like the word point. I had an idea that you didn't embrace right there. The martyr, JFK, we analyze his death 100 different ways, right? But with George Floyd, he died that way. And then it's white people telling super brilliant, successful black people, You have the right. It's literally like on some Black Lives Matter, like your life matters, like, oh, your idea matters, but then shut up and we're not gonna go back to it. No, we're gonna unfold it. I need you to watch that documentary and I want us to talk line by line. I wanna do, because look, I think that we're a good conversation. And now within the next 2 years, we need to talk a lot of times. Right?
I would love to do that.
This kind of thing.
Honestly,
we should unpack.
Listen, let me say to you, I've wanted to interview you for years.
Yeah.
I genuinely mean it when I say I think you're one of the most brilliant, talented people that I've seen in the public sphere. And you have a lot of fascinating ideas, and you're incredibly creative, and you're completely entitled to your views. But I'm entitled to mine, and I think we've had some really interesting exchanges, actually. I want to just talk to you quickly before we finish about your kids and about you as a father.
Poziom lizusostwa tego typa jest niesamowity, nie? I ja nie wiem, w sensie, sorry, ale trzeba być bardzo pochłoniętym własnym ego, żeby wierzyć Pierce'owi w to, co on mówi w tej chwili. Bo, kurwa, Pierce Morgan jest tak niesamowicie nieautentyczny. I ja po prostu słucham go i mam mega poczucie, że ten koleś zrobi wszystko dlatego, żeby zyskać posłuch, żeby być podziwianym i żeby ludzie chcieli do niego wracać i go słuchać. Dlatego, że on jakby w pewnym momencie, tak jak powiedziałem zresztą wcześniej, on strzelił focha na mainstream, ponieważ poczuł, że mainstream go nie szanuje i że mainstream jakby źle go traktuje. Oczywiście nasuwa się tutaj pytanie, ciekawe czemu, ale to jakby jest w ogóle chyba element innej dyskusji.
What kind of kids do you want them to be? What kind of values do you want to instill in your children?
I want my kids to finish their education. I know that my album is called The College Dropout, but when I look at the way, just like you said, your kids are in the University of Chicago. We need the education. That's another thing to be jealous about. The Muslims have the Quran, right? And Jewish people also have their holy books, but they have the education. And once we have the education, and we have the strong Black minds, we need to pull them together. There hasn't been end-to-end Black-owned communities since Black Wall Street or since the gentrification of Harlem. Like I have this tech company called STEM, right, that had the most successful launch in tech history with 80,000 STEM players. As far as the first launch, right? We sold 80,000 STEM players back in February, and we went off the Apple platform, and now we're coming with the next generation that has a projector in it, and it's coming with 4,096 movies. I did that because my Amiga computer had 4,096 colors when I was in 7th grade, and also you can download films without having to use an Apple product. So I called this guy, and we're working on finishing up elements of the deal, and he's using emotional bullying, and like his shoulders are down, you could tell on the call, and he says, well, because of your comments, we're not going to be able to hire people. It's the people that we need. And I said, well, how many people do we have working for us? He said 60, and we have 40 part-time. I said, well, how many Jewish people do we have? He said, well, I don't know. We have some. And I said, well, do we have Black people working for it? He said, yeah. I said, how many? He said, 2. And I said, you're telling me we can't find 60 Black engineers? Well, yeah. And see, that's where that comment that got me into so much trouble forced me to look at myself as the richest Black man since Mansa Musa, right, with multiple tech companies. And where am I kicking the tires inside of my own company to ensure that I'm hiring my people? Because Chinese people hire Chinese people, and Jewish people hire Jewish people, and Catholics hire Catholics, right? But with Blacks, we'll give our company to Bernard Arnault. We'll give our company to Mark Zuckerberg. We'll give our company away. And it would almost come off as anti-Semitic if I hadn't crossed that gun line so far to say, hey, I have to go and ensure that I'm hiring the brightest Black minds to my Black-owned tech company. Kamala is our never again. We're never going to just hand something over just because we like the way this person looks and we have the emotional connection because she was a Delta and my mom was a Delta. She got 96% of the Black female vote. You would have thought Drake was running. And we haven't seen her really honestly since. And I want to say something about the left. The left, you guys got to sit with me. Your current administration that these guys put up, they shit the pot on this one. They should have got Bernie, but Bernie had too much of a conscience. And so you got a guy with no conscience. Instead of getting Bernie Sanders, you guys got Weekend at Bernie's. And
Tu jest niestety ten moment, w którym ma rację, nie? W sensie nie oszukujmy się. Jeżeli chodzi o wybór kandydata na prezydenta, to demokraci spierdolili nie wybierając Berniego, nie? Bo Bernie był zbyt etyczny.
That you don't like where we're at right now. So we got to have a conversation going in.
When you listen, I won't disagree with you about. I don't disagree with you about President Biden or Kamala Harris for that matter. Let me ask you about someone we haven't mentioned, Vladimir Putin, and what he's been doing in Ukraine. What is your view of that?
I do not believe in war, and I believe that there is ways that America could have avoided this war. But Biden has money. Biden has reasons for us to be at war right now for selfish reasons. And what I would like to do, without giving you too much information, I would like to speak with my political advisors to give you the exact information. I'm not going to, hey, watch this one, Pierce. I'm not going to shoot from the hip on this one, especially talking about war and things as sensitive as Ukraine and the Russian war. No, we already got that the RETARD comment earlier that maybe we could work on that I feel like is going to be massively offensive, and I really do. Now that one, I do apologize to people that I offended earlier in the interview on that comment. Maybe we could look at.
Dzisiaj nagle obudził się, no tak, wcześniej powiedziałem coś bardzo obraźliwego i teraz może powinniśmy się nad tym pochylić i jakby skasować to czy coś, przepraszam tego. Ja nie wiem, co tu się dokładnie dzieje, ja nie potrafię zrozumieć tego, co tu się dokładnie dzieje, bo on właśnie wchodzi w taką narrację, która sprawia, że nawet trudno jest stwierdzić, co on właściwie mówi i jakie on pozycje zajmuje. Myślę, że z tego wszystkiego można wydedukować to, że on się czuje mścicielem, takim Avengersem dla czarnych ludzi, ale to jest wszystko, nie? W sensie to jest tak, że jego pozycje są tak rozjechane, że jest super ciężko śledzić. On cały czas wspomina o Bernardzie Arnoldzie, tak? Czyli kolejnym miliarderze, z którego jakby ewidentnie chce przegonić i pobić. No to w sensie pod kątem osiągnięć i sławy. Natomiast no tu jest tyle mentalnego freestylu, że jakby nie ma co się oszukiwać, że gdybyście rozmawiali, gdyby on nie był popularną osobą, to byście wyszli w połowie rozmowy z nim, nie? Albo się wyłączyli, albo powiedzieli, że zostawiliście dziecko na gazie i nie chcecie tego słuchać, nie? Bo nic, co się dzieje w tej rozmowie, nie jest okej.
Scrubbing that if we deem.
Well,
if we'd like to.
actually, I would say this: it's an uncensored interview. You said something which you've now wished you hadn't said, and you've apologised. I actually think that says a lot about you, right? That shows you've got that ability to be self-aware, to understand when.
Tak, albo żelazko w piekarniku, cokolwiek, no. W sensie to jest pierwszy raz, kiedy ja powiedziałem, że zostawiłem dziecko na gazie? Ja myślałem, że ja regularnie używam tego terminu, w związku z czym nie tego.
When you cross a line, I think someone like you, with all your energy and creativity and your passion, you're going to say stuff. The way that you talk constantly and in such an extraordinary manner, you're going to trip up. You're going to say things the wrong way. I don't think there's anything wrong in when you do that, doing what you just did, and saying, I'm sorry, I crossed a line, I apologise. It's actually quite empowering.
You know what I think? You know what I think I'll go ahead and do? I feel that I've given the platform, and I think by holding the idea of an apology hostage is not godlike.
Correct.
I feel like we have to free. Yeah, you know, and I think that's the point that you've been making. And because we sat down and had this conversation, you know,
ja mam takie swoje powiedzonka, które mogą się wydawać kompletnie z czapy, ale wydawało mi się, że regularnie z tego korzystam. W sensie cieszę się, że mogłem rozbawić, nie? Ale no to trochę tak jest, nie? To jest, wiecie, na tej zasadzie, o nie, spójrzcie na mój nadgarstek, muszę już iść, nie? Bo na pewnym etapie trudno jest prowadzić taką rozmowę na poważnie.
I'll say I'm sorry for the people that I hurt with the DEFCON, the confusion that I call. I feel like I cause hurt and confusion. And I'm sorry for the families of the people that had nothing to do with the trauma that I had been through. And that I use my platform where you say hurt people. And I was hurt. I was frustrated. I was frustrated that Gap hadn't opened stores. I was frustrated that I spent time with a gentleman who I love him, his wife, his kids, David Simon, and to open stores. And then he called Bob Martin at Gap and said, I'm not going to open the stores. And I've just been frustrated. I just want to open my whittle stores, and I want to say that it's wrong to hold an apology hostage, and I got to let go of that and free myself of the trauma and say, look, I'm just going to give it all up to God right now and say to those families that I hurt, I really want to give you guys a big hug, and I want to, I say, I'm sorry for hurting you with my comments, and I want to word it in not in like a political way, but in a presidential way, which means what I knew a president to be when I was growing up, in a sincere way. You know how people give those kind of, I want to give an apology, and you're like, but did you? You know what I'm saying? Like, no, it has to be, I want to go to every person's grandmother and grandfather and every person's son and daughter, aunt and uncle, and give them a hug and say, you know what? I've been hurt, and I do want you to talk to your voice. I do want you to talk to the people that are in power, the people who do own the black voice, the people who do own the vote, which a lot of Jewish business people do. And I want to be able to sit at the table with the contracts. I want my people to sit at the table with the contracts. I do want all of this, but I'm not going to hold my apology hostage till I get that. I'm going to start by taking accountability for my actions and the lack of sophistication in my wording. Like I said, I was sleepy, and it was taken in a way that I didn't mean to be taken. It definitely caused some attention. But I don't want the conversation to go away just because I came to you guys and said, I understand how I hurt you, and I'm sorry for the pain that I've caused and the confusion that I caused. Now, that is said, right? But I don't want the conversation to go away that we are still in a place where these contracts are still up. My people are still getting screwed. This has to be opened up. And I'm not asking for a promise, but it would be a beautiful world as I release the pain that I've caused and the pain that I have in me, that grudge that I was holding, that you guys, some of you guys, 1, 2 of you guys step up and say, let's look at these contracts. Let's make it not be a known fact.
Tak, te wypikania są czasem w bardzo losowych momentach, nie?
The music industry is treacherous. Let's make them, because my kids do music. I don't want them to step into a treacherous place. I want it to be better for them than it was for me. So I want us to sit down and come together and really work on that. Would that make sense to you, Pierce?
You know what, Ye? If you'd simply said that in your tweet, I don't think there would have been any problem. And I'm very, very pleased, actually, that we've got to a place where you felt able to say that. And I think it was sincere.
But we still have a problem. That's my point.
No, I get it. But what you've now done, you've now explained the context of the problem, and you also issued a sincere apology to people who were rightly offended by the way you phrased what you said. So I think that's a good place to finish the interview. And I'm very glad you got there.
Okay, but it's not finished.
I understand.
The idea is not finished.
I understand.
That there's still a problem.
I understand. No one's going to be in any doubt there's a problem. And by the way, I'm sure there is. I'm sure that a lot of the contracts in the music business are rigged against people like artists like yourself. I'm sure of it. It's always been the case from Elvis onwards. So I get
Pierce,
it.
Would you help me and my people? Would you help me and my athletes? I got so many athletes that go to my school that are, like all the guys that are on Donda are headed to the NBA, right? Could you help me? Could you help us make these contracts better for our people by calling attention, by just allowing me on your platform, right? And let's look at some of the things and point these things out. Could we work together on
Absolutely
that?
Happy to, very happy to do that.
Yeah.
Very happy to do that. I think we should talk more often.
All right.
It's taken a long time to get here. I've thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. It's been 2 hours. It's been free-rolling. It's been occasionally challenging. But we've got to a place where I think is a good place. And I've really enjoyed it. So thank you very much indeed, Ye, for sparing me the time.
Yeah. You know I'm going to feel like I lost my stone I was holding.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I had to give it up to God. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
You're gonna be bragging. You're gonna be bragging at dinner tonight. Like, yo, I talked to Ye. No one could do it. No one could do it. I did it. And I'm giving you this, and I'm gonna pray that you, as a fellow believer in Christ, will help me to expose all the wrong that's still currently happening to my people, specifically in the entertainment industry. Because
honestly, I'm very happy. I'm very happy to hold anyone to account who is behaving improperly. Honestly, and I'm absolutely certain that entertainment business is riddled with people who try it on and exploit people. And I'll be very happy to help you to expose that. But for now, I've got to leave it. Ye, we've had 2 hours. It's been remarkable. Thank you very much for your time.
I po takiej rozmowie już nigdy byś go nie zaprosiła? No ale come on! To jest przecież złoto. Jeżeli jesteście zainteresowane głównie zarabianiem pieniążków, to co tutaj się zadziało, to jest kurwa czyste złoto i perły, no. Macie super popularnego artystę, który ewidentnie ma problemy psychiczne, tak? I który jednocześnie mówi super kontrowersyjne rzeczy, które zwracają uwagę, rzeczy, które wzbudzają oburzenie. To jest kurwa spełnienie marzeń każdego typa, który chce zbudować swoją wielką platformę, chce podbić swoją popularność, która chce tego zyskać więcej sławy niż miała chwilę wcześniej, nie? Dwie nieskończoności u Caroline Dekrowa. Osoby dające pizzę do Pawłowski, Sakumiaka, Lejra, na Femo, Grota Sajną, Czubeska, Cześć jestem Janek, Krzysztof Kraliński oraz Silvanelka. Osoby dające kawę z ciastkiem, Michał Piotrowski, Peł, Blam, Hypatia, Szabrowny, Kucyk, Ginteja, KDBM 32, Horsingon, Wild, Chrysku, Łukasz Puchalski, Cukrzyś, Dawid Korzeniowski, Smoki, Dora oraz Karol Kuter. I wreszcie osoby dające kawę, Michał Przedziewski, Kropster, Borsuk Cukrowy, George Soros, Azure, Robin Bardaba, Jasiu 2, Heinrich Ambrosiusz, Samren, Adam, Spirit, Narrative, Klusek, XLS i dawczynie herbaty. Arkadiusz Gumiński, Grub Mefisto, Pączek do Bosu, Zetka Herbaciara, Lakadar, Paweł Pawlik, Antyblis, Led Inżynier, Pilny Empatii, Master 4000, Splend, Wlubel, Hubert Mazur, Dzika Kaczka, Defilist, Worewan, Adrian Sylwester, Ubagami i Kobayashi.